What's up, friends? Welcome to SPDM TV. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I watch a lot of TV. We talk about various TV topics, reviews, and general appreciation of TV, past and new. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Serialized at MLHilty2452 to see what all I'm watching. This week, this is one of my favorite episodes that I get to record because we are talking about our 2024 TV recap, and there is no one else I'd rather talk about a 2024 recap or a mid-year recap, because we do that as well, than having Alice back on the show. Hello, Alice.
G'day, how are we all? Really happy to be here.
Cool, cool. Very happy to have you here as well. And Shane, hello.
Hello, everyone. Time to talk some television for a change.
So, what we're going to do is that we are going to do our top 10 TV shows of 2024. But before we do that, I have some questions that I'd like to ask you all in regards to how we felt about this year in it's 2025, so last year in television.
In the
Uh,
18 days, or
in
for you, 17 days that have
in
passed
the
so
in the
far.
whopping 17 days since our the year in our Lord 2024. So first question I have for you both: if you could describe 2024 in one word, what would it be? So Shane, you and I talked a little bit about that before Alice jumped on. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Overwhelming. I feel like this is just going to keep getting worse because it's just impossible to keep up with how much content even just Netflix puts out. Like Netflix alone is overwhelming by the amount of series that it puts out. And how many streaming services do we have now? And we still have network television, which I do still watch a decent amount of network television.
I'm sorry,
And
what's
then
network television? What
what?
is that? What is network
What?
television? I don't get it.
Alphabet soup? But I watched about 160 seasons of television in 2023, and I was at 120 in 2024 because honestly, I just needed to tell myself if you really don't have interest in this, don't put yourself through it because
Mm.
I was kind of done and trying
Mhm.
to like I already do that with movies. And at
Mm-hmm.
least they're done in
You do? Like, what do you mean you do?
my 860 new releases that I watched in 2024.
Which,
Um,
correct me if
it's
I'm wrong,
What?
is a record, right?
yes, I have crushed my own record of 2023. Oh my god. There's just so
Mm-hmm.
many shows everywhere. And I'm behind on plenty of other things because like there are certain shows that I haven't watched because my wife wants to watch them with me. And
Yes,
we're
I
way
definitely
back
feel that.
way back on some of them. Like I
Hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
haven't watched the live action Avatar.
I still haven't finished The Witcher or The Mandalorians, the most
Mm.
recent seasons, for
I
the same reason.
finally got to watch Poker Face,
Oh, way
Oh,
to go.
so damn good. But it took me like 2 years to get
Hmm.
around to it. It just and we're gonna get a new season. It's just overwhelming. I just think television has reached the point where it's a critical mass of there's just too much. And instead of investing in some shows and giving them some time to breathe, it's just like let's speed round shows and then
dude.
cancel them. As I just saw Frasier is done at Paramount Plus after 2 seasons, just when it started actually kind of getting fun. It's like, well, there goes another one. Which also,
Mm-hmm.
why did they make this in the first place? But whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
overwhelming. That's my word.
that is completely fair and completely accurate. Alice, do you have your word?
Extremely related. The word I wrote down was exhausting
Mhm.
because the same. As soon as he said that, I'm like, yep, it's just a synonym in a way because I pretty much everything that Shane just said. It is like even looking at the stuff that I have to now catch up on because I went on holiday for a month and so that put
Shame
me
on you.
severely behind on so much. And then, I mean, I went on holiday and then it was the holidays, like the end of year and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And now we're about to enter Oscar season, which means all my attention has to go to all of that. And it just puts me further behind. And I'm just like, when I was writing down all the shows that I have to catch up on, I'm like, I'm never gonna have time. I just like, this is gonna sound strange, but as a thing for me to bring up, but it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to get back to YouTube because I was always like, I'll catch up on my TV and then I'll go and catch up on my YouTube. And I just have not, I think I'm like 4 years behind on all the channels that I used to keep up with regularly because I literally don't, because there's too much. I agree. There's too much. I agree with what you said as well. I don't think they're giving shows space to breathe. And so there's a lot of one season shows, 1 to 2 seasons shows that in if you I was thinking about it the other day and I'm like there are so many shows that are considered to be like some of the greatest shows of all time, and the way people would have recommended it to you back in the day would have been like, oh, season one's crap but it's fine, just get past season one and then it really breathes. Like considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest show of all time, Breaking Bad. So many people used to tell me, just get to season three. Season three is where it starts to shine. It's where it really gets good. But it's like nowadays that would have gotten cancelled after season one. That's just how TV works. And so I'm exhausted, partly because there's too much, and partly because I get invested in things and then that investment gets cut short and I'm over it.
Parks and Rec would have been dead in the water.
That's that's
And
literally the example, and The Office.
And the American version of The Office.
Yeah.
Because those first seasons are different. Way
They're
different.
fine, but they're completely different. It's because they tried to do, like, I literally watched a whole video the other day on like how Parks and Rec dramatically changed between season one and season two, and it's because they basically all the characters were unlovable in season one, and then they really kind of reframed and essentially got a second chance, and now it's one of the best comedies ever. And it's just like,
and they exercised Mark Bandana quits.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get the hell out of here.
Yeah, literally, and that it's like nowadays just canceled, would have literally just been canceled, and it's super frustrating.
Yeah. To sum up, my word was too much. Hyphenated. Just too much. Because like the two of you, I find myself getting stressed out because I know I'm missing stuff. But also this year I've gotten a little bit better about giving myself a little bit of grace because let's just call it what it is. There's a lot of crap on television right now too. So if there's something that I'm not feeling based on the trailer or description, there's a good chance nowadays I'm not gonna watch it unless people I trust say that it's good. So if it is worth the investment, I'll go ahead and do it. But then you run into issues where there's competing factions. And I think like a good example of that is The Acolyte. So you've got a group of people for The Acolyte who are saying that it's straight trash. And then you actually watch it. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, what is happening right now? Why are we?
I have thoughts.
Yeah. And that's the problem also with discourse is that there's always these multiple sides, and it can be sometimes kind of hard to figure out who you can trust in instances like that. I get it. There is not going to be a television show that is just universally beloved by everybody because there's always going to be someone out there that's like, it's too derivative. But at the end of the day, there's just too much out there. And like you both have said, it's very hard because I'm very thankful for the fact that these seasons are only like 10 episodes long or 10 episodes as opposed to how it used to be back in the network TV days when, 23 episodes. Like I need to, in order for me to catch up on everything that happens, like Alice's example, Breaking Bad, thankfully those seasons were like 10 episodes long. If it was like in the 90s, it's like, I have to watch 50 episodes in order to get to season 3. No thanks.
Yeah.
I am trying to get through Kung Fu Panda, the Dragon Knight season 3, and it's 19 episodes. And I'm just like,
is it good?
Not the. I'm at the point where it's the third and last season, and I'm gassed on what the show is. And I think Jess and I have like 12 more episodes to watch. And I think she's enjoying it more than I am at this point, but I'm just like, it feels so cheap. And because it's like, it's one of those stupid Netflix spin-off series that they put like $10 into.
Yeah.
So,
I'm surprised it got beyond a season 1, to be honest. Netflix and Amazon are the worst when it comes to the cancellations, and it's driving me up the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's pivot and let's talk about the winner. Next question is, the winner of television for 2024 was blank. Now, this can be a network, this could be a streamer, this could be a particular show, this could be a actor or performer, concept, what have you. So, Alice, do you have your word? Or
I
do you
do.
have your winner? Okay,
I
go ahead.
do, I do. So the winner of 2020 television for me was an actor called Ella Purnell. If you don't know the name immediately, she is currently the star of some of the most interesting and also successful shows on television, and she has had a year. So
Mhm.
she was the star of Fallout. She's the main character of Arcane, voicing it. And also, she's the main character in one of my favorite shows, so we'll talk about it more later, called Sweet Pea, which, yeah,
Somebody else has actually heard of that show. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I should mention Sweet Pea is made by the same people who make Heartstopper and Slow Horses, two of my favorite shows on television right now. So
That
there was
makes
literally no way I
that
wasn't gonna come
makes
across
that
wasn't gonna
okay.
come across it. But yeah, so she is the star of all three, and every single one is a completely different character. I mean, Arcane's animated voiceover, it's very fantasy and like dramatic and traumatic. Again, I say all this, and that's one of the shows, going back to our earlier point, where it's like I have these shows that I've been dying to watch, but I just literally don't have time, and Arcane's one of them, and it's on my list, and I will get to it eventually, but I know enough about it. And then you've got Sweet Pea, which is very like dark comedy, very British, very like, and also only 6 episodes, and it was just really and hey, I'm thankful, successful enough and on a network that's good enough, so it's getting a season 2. Thank the Lord, thank
Mm.
everything, thank multiple gods. And then she's the star of Fallout, which is arguably the biggest show of the year and went absolutely gangbusters, and somehow got people who like the show, the video game, and don't like the video game on board, and that's also getting a season 2. And it is, as someone who knew nothing and didn't care about the video game, I loved it, loved everything about it. So she's definitely doing some amazing work. I think that she's one of those, like, in a couple of years we'll be talking about her in like big movies and like on the award circuit and that sort of thing, but definitely the winner for me.
That's a great pick because I would definitely agree. She's had a year, and this has been a little bit coming because, like, the first
Yeah.
exposure that I got to Ella Purnell was Yellow Jackets in that
Yes.
first
Oh, and
season,
that's, yeah,
and
yeah, of course.
boy, that was like, oh, you are going to hit it big. And this year was definitely one of those years. I do
Yep.
fear a little bit that Fallout is going to take like 5 years to make because I have a feeling that Ella Purnell is just going to be busy from this point forward, which
Mm,
that's good for all of us. That's just not great for Fallout fans because
mm.
Amazon has a tendency for some shows to take their sweet time on in order to make. And I have a feeling Fallout is going to be one of those
Not as
shows.
bad as Netflix, though. Netflix is the one where it's like 2 years, 3 years, 7 years. How long has it been between freaking Stranger Things now? Like 5 years or
They're gonna be
something?
35.
Yeah, all of
At
these,
least
all of
they're currently they finished filming it, right? Like we have that at least.
I hope they have. So
And yet they're still splitting it into part 1, part 2. So
we will
Are
talk
you
about
sure they're
that
not gonna
soon.
split it into three like a
And
Cobra Kai?
They set the precedent with Cobra Kai.
uh,
15
I'm just
episodes,
gonna
three
start
parts.
waiting for the full parts, all the parts to be out. I'm so sick of waiting. I refuse.
That's I fully support you protesting the splitting up of seasons like this.
Those are
Shit.
just separate seasons.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
it's
that's what they are. That's what a season is. The season is the story in a contained setting, and then you tell it again a few months. Well, it's meant to be a few
well,
months later. Now it's a
we
few
only
years
have to
later.
pay them for one season.
Yeah.
Well, there I we will talk about this in my TV hot take because
Okay.
this whole thing with splitting up seasons is really starting to irritate me. So I'm going to put a pin on this and we will
Okay.
talk
Put a
about
pin on
that
it. Yep.
soon. So I'll go next with mine because I kind of wrestled with what I thought my winner of television was, and I thought it was going to be one of two things, and I ended up going with neither. I'm going with live sports as the big winner of television for 2024 because we are now at a point where all of these streaming networks, they're trying to scoop up as many
Hmm.
of these live sports as much as possible. And now we live in a world where Netflix is showing football, like American football games. They're showing Jake Paul trying to last against a 59 or 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Like this is the future. And
Is Netflix.
exactly. So
That's 2025, so that's not technically part of this conversation, but
It's adjacent. It's adjacent because the Amazon just spent a bunch of money to be one of the streamers for the NBA coming up soon. And there was this idea that Time Warner or like Warner Brothers Discover, Fox, and ESPN would come together to make a like dedicated sports streaming service. That ended up getting kiboshed in U.S. court because of all people, Fubu TV was like, nah, no, 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 no. We're gonna sue you. And then Disney was like, well, what? Why don't we just merge Hulu TV and Fubu TV and create a super streamer? It's like, cool. I have a feeling that that's going to be the first of many times that that is going to happen in the coming years, where some of these streamers are like, oh, we can't do this by ourselves anymore. Maybe we should just combine instead because streaming services are definitely in need of consolidation. But sports, I think, is going to be something that's what streaming services are have been trying to gobble up lately is live sports because we did this with the existing properties. We did this with getting the rights to certain books or certain properties. We're doing this kind of right now with video game adaptations because I think a lot of studios have said, "Oh, what? I think a lot of video games could make better TV series than they do movies. So maybe we should scoop up the rights for these so that we could do
Yeah.
that." And live
It's almost
sports,
like because they're just naturally episodic.
well,
Or there's like hours of gameplay, hours.
and how can you scrunch all of that gameplay into an hour and a half movie or a
That's how you
4
get
hour?
Borderlands.
Shane, who is your winner or what is your winner of television for 2024?
I just want to make one quick comment about Netflix and football. They just put on what is probably going to be a more memorable and beloved halftime show with their Christmas Beyonce concert than the actual Super Bowl halftime show.
You bite your tongue for Kendrick Lamar. No,
Like,
you're
Netflix just kicked the NFL in the nuts and was just like, good
like
luck with
we're
it.
just gonna do this and just call it a day.
So
Yeah.
and at some point I legitimately think baseball will be viewing rights will be bought up by one of the streaming services, and it'll probably be Apple because they want it really bad. But my biggest winner, I think, is FX. And between Shogun and they still have The Bear, which is still not a comedy, and at least the awards bodies are lashing out against it and giving the due that it deserves because it's an actual
That's
comedy.
also because it was a weaker season too. I feel like if it had
True.
been, and he still won Best Freaking Actor,
And
didn't he?
wasn't
And
even
didn't
there.
attend. I
It
know.
was-
Oh my God.
Jeremy
That was
Allen
so
White
awkward.
could not have been bothered to go to the Golden Globes Award this
He was
year.
too busy being Bruce Springsteen. I would have been happy if any of those other nominees would have at least gotten some recognition or throw Matt Berry a bone because also like FX had the end of What We
Yep.
Do in the Shadows. And I just think that I don't know if they'll continue into this coming year where they're going to be riding this high, but the last couple of years has really stepped up in terms of their television content. But I don't think they'll be the winner in 2025, but I'll share that when Mike asks that question.
Yeah. So FX was going to be one of my winners, but this is a stark contrast from what I talked to Shane about when we did our top 10 TV shows in 2024 for his YouTube channel. Check out that episode. It was pretty great because I was like, HBO had a down year. And then I realized I have 3 HBO shows in my top 6. So maybe not. So, but all of those came in the second half of the year. So, in my defense, well, with the exception of Hacks, which we'll talk about that, but with the exception of Hacks, I don't know. HBO didn't have a great first half of the year. They had a much stronger second half of the year with a couple of their shows. So I would agree, and I think since Warner Brothers and Discover merged, it's just that the quality of the shows on HBO just haven't been as good. Well, let's just call it what it is. So yeah, I would definitely agree with the FX being one of the winners. Let's talk TV hot takes. And since we've already started, or since we already kind of talked about it, can we please stop with the part 1, part 2, And this is particularly a problem on Netflix. And if Netflix has such if Netflix all they want to do is just release part 1 and part 2, maybe
Mm.
what they should consider doing is just releasing things week to week. Because it's I
Literally,
I do
literally, like they used to release week to week, which meant they could shoot while the show was releasing.
mhm.
If that's really what's taking so much time, which it isn't.
No. It a lot of it has to do with money and paying
Mm.
people less, potentially, which is really shitty of Netflix to do. But
Well, there's a
here's
lot
where
of things that Netflix has done that's really
oh yeah,
shitty of
for
them to
sure.
do.
But I think this year we had this happened with Bridgerton, this happened with Emily in Paris. Like Emily in
Yeah.
Paris, like why does Emily in Paris need to have a part 1 and part 2?
Especially because it watching the half of the part took literally 2 hours. It's like it was insane, and it's not a show that has like it ends on a cliffhanger every episode because it's one of those stupid little shows you watch to turn your brain off.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. And then
Come back in 6 months for the epic conclusion of Emily
Emily
in
in
Paris.
dun
yep,
dun dun.
ends
But
up in Rome.
the wow, spoiling that.
Oh no. I mean, except it's
This
been
is
all over their
devastating.
social.
Wait a minute. So she takes advantage of the fact that there is very effective and affordable transportation throughout the EU.
Yeah,
Weird.
exactly.
So Netflix, they committed 2 egregious errors with this part 1 and part 2, and the first one was with Cobra Kai. To split Cobra Kai into 3 parts is bullshit. Like it's just straight up bullshit because I'm a huge fan of Cobra Kai, and the way that they split it up, it makes sense why they want to do that, but it also is kind of diluting the product already because the first part is like, how do we get them to this tournament? Like seriously, we needed 5 episodes for this, but then the middle 5 episodes have to do with this tournament and how it ends. It's like, what on earth are we going to talk about for 5 more episodes? Like, I do not understand. Besides setting up a Mr. Miyagi prequel series
And a movie.
and a spin-off
And
movie,
a movie with Kung Fu Kid.
the Kung Fu Kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but my also big problem is that I do not like how Netflix split up Squid Game at all. I think the way that they split it up, that is literally a part 1 and part 2.
Oh,
Like,
they've just called it different seasons.
yeah. So they're saying that season 3 of Squid Game, or the next season of Squid Game, which is its last, is going to be season 3. And that is unequivocally wrong because
Hmm.
they literally took the story and they split it in half. Unless there's like some weird things going on where we either have some type of time jump, and if that happens, that's going to piss me off too. But I was enjoying season 2 of Squid Game, and then it ended and I was like, wait a second, structurally this does not work because all the
It's gonna annoy
people
me so much when I
all
finally catch up on it.
all the people out there who are like Avengers Infinity War is half a movie. It's like, no, it's actually a pretty complete movie. This is a
Thanos won.
this is a very incomplete season because there's a lot of hanging threads and there's not a whole lot of resolution. And I get
Mhm.
it, there's cliffhangers that are needed, but it's also Squid Game, so let's calm the hell down. But Netflix in particular is doing this. I don't like it. And let's just pick a lane. Let's go ahead and either release things week to week or let's just go back to just binging things. Like I just cannot with this anymore. So
Mhm.
that is my TV hot take. Shane, why don't you go next?
Honestly, because of how horrible the reception was to Acolyte, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just like, I love Star Wars. If Star Wars disappeared for like 5, 6 years and we just stopped talking about it, I'd be kind of okay with that because I'm just so tired of the vitriol of all
Mhm.
of it. It's just, to quote Alice, it's exhausting
Yeah.
because like all the criticisms of the Acolyte were stupid.
And incorrect.
And
If
just like
they just watched the show,
or you watch the whole season.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like if they watch the whole, it's almost like they're like, that doesn't even make sense. And then I'm like, yeah, it's almost like it's a show with a beginning, middle, and end to the story, and you're just not watching until the end.
I can't. It's so
We will be talking about the Acolyte further, don't you
yeah.
worry.
Ooh,
Yes,
okay.
I will also be. And it's just frustrating because
Mhm.
like I love Star Wars
Mm.
and you can be mad at Disney all you want because if you think they ruined your childhood because they did what Disney was going to do with it that they paid $4 billion for. Then my hot take is if you think you can do better, you find billions of dollars and go buy it from Disney. Because,
Mm.
like, at the end of the day, it's what it is. And also, my quick side thing that doesn't have to do with Star Wars is I just wish that these streaming services would be more consistent with how they release shows because it's super annoying and it's like, oh, this show is going to be weekly. Just kidding, it's 3 episodes and then weekly.
Yep.
Or like, did Arcane get released 3 episodes at a time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like
they
I
had a
thought that was
really
a
weird
Max
release.
thing.
Yeah.
That really frustrated me when they released Max and we're like, we're going to release 3 episodes every Thursday. Oh, so sometimes two. Or maybe just the last one on the last week. I'm like, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
And my biggest hot take is just send them all back to releasing 1 episode a week. Where my body's ready. So
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah. The nice thing about potentially going back to week is that I don't feel as bad when I miss an episode, and that way I have a little bit of time to catch up because look, I review a lot of TV shows for
Mhm.
Sif Pop, and the ones that drop all at once, I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna get this to you for like a week or two because
Oh, I've told Rob, I'm like, when it drops, you can expect it the week after.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like it's too hard
Mhm.
to like if it's week to week, it's a little bit easier because you can at least do it gradually, collect your thoughts.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but if it releases all at once, then you're gonna have to watch it all, collect your thoughts, and then like it also is gonna require you to pay a little bit more attention as well.
Yeah.
So
Which is
it's
why the reviews are often wrong too, because people only watch 3 episodes and then
oh
they
yeah,
review a whole show, which is a
I
whole other thing.
I cannot stand that about television review and television criticism because
Hmm.
3 episodes is usually never enough time to make
That's
a
only enough
judgment
time
on
for me
something.
to be like, do I want to continue watching this? Yes.
Exactly,
That's all,
exactly.
that's all the review should be allowed to say. It's like, is this worth actually watching? Yes
Mhm,
or no? Not, is this good? Because you're not going to know until the show's out.
mhm.
So,
What you
Well,
mean we shouldn't just review the first act of movies and then
yeah,
and then
release
just
review?
turn it off and be like, that Shane
that was terrible.
is that what is
Too
that
many plot
how
holes.
is that how film criticism works where they send you a screener of
I
the first
got no
act and then that's it and then
answers.
they just cut it off?
You get no answers just watching the first 30 minutes of this movie. Trash.
Yep, exactly.
Boo, boo.
Yep.
Alice, hit us with your TV hot
I have
take
so
or
many.
takes.
I have so many, but just quickly jumping off yours, I think the reason why as well binging is so intense, especially if you're trying to review, is because like one of my kind of small ones is I'm so sick of movie length episodes because I'll watch a movie if I want to watch a movie, and I'm always dreading. Even if I really like the show, if I pop open my streaming and it's like an hour and 20 minutes, I'm like, where am I going to find the time?
Prophecy was getting to me.
Dude, literally, that was the
Hey,
thing. It's
that
like
was only
I
six
was so
episodes.
I would have to watch it in parts because I'm like, I don't have an hour and 45 minutes. I have 45 minutes. So I'll watch that and then I'll come back later and watch it late. So that just jumping off because it's really getting to be exhausting. And at that point, just that's another episode. Just like literally, it's not a 6 episode season, it's a 7 episode season.
To
Like
to piggyback off of that really quick.
off my piggyback.
Piggyback off your piggyback. I in addition to movie length episodes, it's also a little frustrating when the length of TV episodes are drastically different. So
Mm.
I'm watching a show on Netflix right now,
Oh, dude.
and it's 6 episodes, and here's the spread. Okay. Episode one, 48 minutes. Episode
Perfect.
two, an hour and 3 minutes. Episode
Too
three,
long.
51 minutes. Episode 4, 49 minutes. Episode 5, 36 fucking minutes. 36. Only 36 minutes. And then episode 6 is 52 minutes. Like, dude, that's way too much. That's
Yeah.
way too much variance in that.
I'm happy if you want to vary between like all of them are between 40 to 50 minutes. That's fine.
That is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
But the
You can't have a 36-minute episode and then an hour and 20-minute episode. It's weird and it completely shifts the tone of the show.
yes, agree.
I quick side note, and not to get on too many tangents. So I don't know if either of you watch Bookie with Sebastian Maniscalco. One of the episodes is 18 minutes. I'm like, what?
Doing? What is going on?
And at the end of the episode, I'm like, did anything of substance happen?
No.
It's like
That's a YouTube video.
The network comedies are 22 minutes because it's 30 minutes minus the commercials. But like 18 minutes, and I'm just like, holy crap! I'm like gonna burn through this quick.
Yeah.
But no, just but yeah.
But
Sorry.
yeah, anyway, so my other I'll land on my actual hot take, but really quick, the other ones in my head are just season ones shouldn't be allowed to have a cliffhanger unless there's a guaranteed second season order. And I'm really annoyed. We've already talked about the cancellations and the long wait between seasons because I literally won't remember anything that happens in that show. And I refuse to go back and watch it because I don't have the time to do it. And so I'll just watch a recap. And that's super annoying. But my main hot take, because we've already discussed it, I'm sure we will continue discussing those things later. I think there should be a rule that you're not allowed to put the major spoilers of your show on social until it's been at least a month. And most importantly, you should not have the major spoiler, and this should just be across the board forever. You should not have the major spoiler be the thing you see first, so that by the time you see it, you don't have time to scroll because you're not like, oh, that's a spoiler, I don't want to see that. And this specifically comes because speaking of having to wait for other people to watch things, I am only 4 episodes into Agatha All Along. And I have suspicions and I have theories and I know that I'm right about them. But I was very annoyed when the final episode of that dropped that all the actors and the Marvel and all of that had the freaking giant pasted spoiler, which I'm trying to forget as much as I can. So I'm not going to say what it is, especially for other people who might not have seen it. But I was like, I didn't want my theory confirmed because I'm so angry because it's like, well, I just literally all I saw was a picture of a character doing the thing that I theorized. And I'm like, well, now I know. Like, now I know because you didn't have the freaking grace to just be like, even just have a moment of like the slight couple of seconds beforehand, have a spoiler screen before you say it. Like, don't put the major spoiler, the thing that you've been hiding from people in the build-up, in the editing, in the trailers, as the main thing, and because you're just assuming that I literally am waiting on 2 other people to watch it. So we have to wait, and we only have time to watch a couple episodes a week, and we had to wait for me to get back from holiday and for someone else to get back from holiday. Now we're finally watching it, and I'm so angry because I've seen it. And because I saw a freaking clip, and that was in a scroll through. So that's my real hot take, because it's super annoying. And that I'm saying this as someone who, like, I just said something about Emily in Paris, blah blah blah, but because it's all over everywhere, it's literally impossible to ignore. And I just think there should be a rule. It's like, have it on, but you just have to allow people the ability to scroll past if they don't want to know what it is.
Yes.
And just social media is so terrible for that. Because, like, now that those shows come out at 9 o'clock the night before, shows that I watch with my wife, I'm not watching them until the next day because she goes to bed at 9 o'clock. So, like, and then you just have to deal with the minefield that is social media and hope that people don't spoil it. And that was the big Friday thing. I'm like, I didn't watch it first thing in the morning because I had to wait until both myself and my wife were done work. And it's why I just got my Thursday night tickets to Captain America Brave New World, because I literally cannot watch a Marvel movie not on opening night because I don't want shit spoiled for me.
And people just film it and post the clips online, and it's not even like interesting commentary about it.
It's just the clips.
YouTube.
It's just, well, YouTube. So The only other place that is just as bad as YouTube is TikTok. But
Yes. Well,
that,
yeah.
well, in the US that won't be as big of a problem anymore.
It'll still be a
But
problem for me. And
yep,
also,
and
people, there are things called VPNs. I'm just saying.
there are ways to get around
Yeah.
just to like, ah,
But
we're
I'm
just
not
banning.
endorsing it, but I'm just saying if you just happen to have one on your phone anyway, like
There you go.
worked for me every time I've gone to India. So
Yes, I fully agree with that. In particular, it's the social media aspect of it. It's just the thing that sucks. And that is the kind of the only saving grace that binging everything all at once sometimes kind of has, is because if it's week to week, you risk like there potentially being a lot more spoilers. But then when you're doing things just with a binge style, the problem that you're going to run into is that I can't binge an
nobody's got
entire
8 hours.
well, like there are people out there who have 8 hours. We're not those people because
Most people don't have
we
8 hours.
because we've got other responsibilities and other things that we have to do. And
Yeah.
the other problem is there's too much on TV right now,
Mhm.
and there's too many movies. And for all those out there who play video games, there's all of that too. So it's too much. It sucks. And the spoilers, like, just let people just discover this stuff on their own. Come on. All
Mhm.
right. All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip one of the questions. And really quick, the last question I have before we get into our top 10, blank is going to have a really strong 2025 for television. So, Shane, why don't you go first?
I'm gonna say Disney.
Okay.
And because they've had some rocky underperforming years of late in terms of Disney Plus, but I legitimately think, especially starting with Skeleton Crew, which I think has been such a fun little show for
Well,
Star
hasn't been
Wars,
any hate around that because it's just the Goonies in space.
it's
Mhm.
inoffensive. And then Andor season 2, and
Mhm.
with Star Wars,
Mm.
and then Marvel has like I think 6 or 7 shows coming out this year, because they have a backlog and they need to get them all out. But like Daredevil coming
Mhm.
out, which I'm very excited about. I think this could be a nice bounce back year for Disney Plus as a streaming service for new content. Because to be frank, what do most people consistently like about Disney Plus
Bluey.
is all the nostalgia. And that's
Mhm.
basically it. So
Mhm.
I think this could be a good year for Disney.
Good call. Alice?
Yeah, mine was just Marvel's gonna have a strong 2025 because I agree with you regarding just Disney in general, but I think Marvel because I do think they did do a very intelligent thing, and I don't know if it was out of necessity or they literally didn't have anything or whatever, but they allowed the Marvel like exhaustion to dissipate, and they only, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, even though I've only seen half the season, they only released bangers in 2024. Like, Deadpool and Wolverine is objectively a great film. Okay, no matter what's happening around it or whatever. Like, it's so funny. And it was such a fun cinema experience. And then you had Agatha All Along, which again, I'm only halfway through and it's already very quickly becoming my favorite show Marvel's ever done because Catherine Hahn needs everything ever because she's amazing. And I'm so glad that she's finally getting her. Can I just say really quick? Because she was a character actor for so
Mhm.
long, and now it's like, no, she's so freaking talented
Freaking,
and
yeah.
charismatic. So you had that, like they had, but it was just enough. It was just enough, and then they had What If season 3 just to finish off that whole thing, just
Mhm.
enough, and. But mostly it was pretty blank, and now they're coming back. Yeah, they've got Daredevil, they've got Ironheart, they've got the Spider-Man animated series is
Yeah.
finally coming through. You've got as well the Eyes of Wakanda and potentially the Marvel Zombies. And like, there's so much coming out in just TV that's going to be really interesting. And I think that I think Daredevil's going to be a huge get. Like, I think that release, especially with the trailer that came out.
If it's good, then yeah, that's going to be, I mean, yeah, that's my hot take. If something's good, then great. But yeah,
That's not
partic-
always guaranteed, Mike.
That's true.
So
especially from Marvel and especially from Disney lately.
Yeah.
So
And
so
then if you pair that with the movie releases they have this year, they've got the new Captain America with Harrison Ford, which I am like there is no way Harrison Ford would sign on for unless he really wanted to for some reason. Because that man is a grump, which is why he works so well in Shrinking. But like he having so there's that, but then there's Fantastic Four, which in my eyes is going to be the starting point of the new era of Marvel. Like if they get those shows we just mentioned, Fantastic Four and Captain America, right? Then and I'm and Thunderbolts.
But yeah, I was about to say, you forgot completely. You
I'm
forgot about
so
Thunderbolts.
excited for. Partly of the reason for that is I really think any moment we're going to get a Young Avengers announcement, which I guess is not, they're not really, they're just Avengers at this point because they're all in their mid 20s to 30s. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that they're really going to, I guess technically they're Young Avengers. And although I am not on board, I know that we're talking about TV today, but I'm so not on board with Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, but I sense that there's something else afoot with that. That cannot be what it is on face value. So if that all works out how I suspect it's going to work out, and they're finally going to figure out the multiverse stuff and get it back on track, I just think that 2025 in TV as well is going to be huge.
The correct answer to this is Netflix. And the reason why is because this year, Netflix has the end of Cobra Kai, the end of Stranger Things, the end of Squid Game, and then they also have Wednesday as well.
Oh, is that coming back?
Though Netflix just dropped something where it's like, hey, all three of these are coming back this year. It's like, oh, like Netflix is gonna have a year. And
if they're all good. I'm very worried about Stranger Things. But what I mean, like, no, I just think Stranger Things, I'm like, oh, you've got a lot you have to do in one season, and you will not have any more. Like, even if they wanted to, there's no way.
Well, but with Stranger Things as well, these episodes are all going to be like, there's going to be an episode that's
they're going to be 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be bullshit, like absolute bullshit. But with Wednesday, they've got some controversy around Wednesday with the guy who plays Percy being written off the show because
that's an easy write-off though. Like I'm glad they just were like, no, we'll just get someone new. I think bring back the other guy. I don't care that like he was awesome. I loved his character.
Yeah, yeah. But even with Cobra Kai, like I was saying earlier, I was like, what are we gonna do for 5 episodes? Like, are all of these episodes also gonna be 18 minutes long? Like, what is happening right now? So I'm a little nervous about that. Plus, with all the setup between a new Karate Kid movie and a potential Mr. Miyagi prequel series, but then with Squid Game, look, I'm gonna trust that they know what they're doing, and that Squid Game, the second half of season 2, is gonna be great. But they got to stick the landing, or it's gonna just be a little frustrating. But that's my hot take that's my prediction is that Netflix is just gonna have a great year because those are not just 4 like good shows; those are like 4 of Netflix like heavy hitters all coming out in one year. Now, next year, they're going to have, or 2026, they're going to have a crappy year because most of those shows are ending. So they gotta find something else, and then
they got to get that live action Pokemon series up and running. That all those rumors are like, we're going to replace Stranger Things.
See, I don't know about that because 2026 they'll have another Arcane season. They're going to have Bridgerton season 4, and they're going to also have, if they can get their shit together, the Magic the Gathering season that they're releasing, which if they do that right, just unbelievable potential with that kind of show.
I'm just gonna say this because for years everybody's like, Netflix is gonna get knocked off their perch. Look at Max, look at Disney Plus. No. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when all the dust settles down, Netflix is still going to have market share, and Netflix is still going to have the most people watching. And also to throw on to Netflix, they also have Monday Night Raw coming out every Monday night, and people like Dwayne Johnson randomly showing up just to get the rub and stuff like that. It's just like, and even just throwing out, I'm sure they're going to have more football games this year too, which Netflix is just, no matter how much I'd like to, I don't like Netflix, it's just like they know what they're doing.
They do.
And they're the king of the streaming game, no matter what anybody says. And It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right. Let us get into our top 10s. So, how we're going to do our top 10s, we're going to go from number 10 to number 1. And if somebody says a show and it's higher on the list, let's go ahead and punt it so that we can talk about it when it is higher up at the highest point and then go from there. So, quick question for everybody. Given our top 10s earlier in the year, how many new shows are on your list from like the second half of the year?
I think my
6.
top 3 are all from later in the year. So that
My top
definitely
3 are still from my old list.
there you go.
Okay.
So
But they're
my
in a
list
different
drastically
order.
changed.
They're in a
Oh,
different
okay.
order.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
different order.
I also have 6 from later in the year as well.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start for this one.
Mhm.
So my number 10 is Black Doves on Netflix.
So I'll get to it.
You'll get to it.
I'll
Um,
also get to it.
So here's what I really liked about Black Doves, because this year, between this and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this was a strong year
Mm.
for spy TV shows.
And the agency.
I can't forget about that.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but I know it's a spy show.
Yeah, there you go. But Keira Knightley, rightfully so, is getting some awards buzz for this because she's pretty good in this. I don't think enough people are talking about how Ben Whishaw is doing some pretty incredible stuff in this. And
Paddington.
well, the funny thing is that I look at who he is in this, who he's a straight up assassin. He kills people. He is not Q anymore. And I think what this show does really well is that it balances the like family and the like real life aspect of what it's like to be a spy versus what we get in a lot of other shows where these spies are like superheroes. Like these characters get hurt. These characters all have something very big to lose. The story is really great. The lore of this secret covert ops group called the Black Doves is really interesting. It's not explored very much, which gives me a little bit of hope that maybe it'll get a season 2 and we'll explore this a little bit more.
Oh, they've already announced they're getting a season 2.
Well, there you go. Perfect.
They pre-filmed it in one of their little it felt like because it was the exact same staging and costume and all that sort of stuff. So they must have known. They must have hoped, I guess, is the better.
Well, I maybe
forced it.
Maybe this is maybe this is Black Doves season 1 and then the next one is going to be Black Doves season 1 part 2. I don't know, but we shall see. But I really like Black Doves, and this was like one of the last TV shows that I watched in 2024. So I really enjoyed this. And also it's kind of a Christmas show as well. So
if it takes me a year to get to it, that's good.
Yeah. Shane, why don't you go ahead and go with your number 10?
Resident Alien season 3. I love this show. Alan Tudyk is finally getting like a leading role to really like dig into and have tons of fun. And this man went to Juilliard. He can do more than and there's some emotional depths that this season went into, and also some interesting romantic places for our alien in this season. And it also leaves you on a pretty game-changing kind of, oh crap,
That's
where's
part
this
of the
going
reason
for me?
why it's not in my top 10. I don't enjoy a cliffhanger without a guaranteed next season.
Well, what the hell else is sci-fi doing? Of course, you're gonna keep doing this one.
I guess so.
I feel like this is the only show that anybody talks about from sci-fi. So, but no, this is a show that I really enjoy, and Alan Tudyk is a huge part of that. But I'm also really falling for the other characters around it too. So,
all right, cool. Alice, you're number 10.
My number 10 is speaking of Netflix from before, it is a show called Nobody Wants This.
This was a very hard honorable mention.
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple of those for sure. Yeah.
Because that was originally my number 10, and then I watched Black Doves and I was like, I kind of liked it a little bit better, but that doesn't change the fact that I loved Nobody Wants This.
I didn't I saw it and I was like, oh, that'll be fun. And then I wasn't planning on watching it as soon as I did. I was like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. But then there was so much everywhere about it, and I didn't want to get spoiled, basically. And I was like, well, okay, I'll watch it. And I think part of what really drew me to it was the music. Like I was
Mm,
hearing a lot of the music, and it's so good. But
mhm,
I think really, I'm so sick of realistic romance stories, which I know I'm a girl, whatever, but like, I've always loved a good romance story, particularly because I love the way that characters evolve and develop in these stories. And I'm so sick of, and when I say realistic, I mean not happy ending romance
mm,
stories, because that in my eyes isn't actually very realistic. Like, I mean, there's a reason why the human race still exists. Like,
mhm,
people tend to fall in love, and not all of them like result in heartbreak and depression. And it's just nice every now and again to get a happy ending. You know what I mean? Even though this isn't really an ending, it's a season one, but like, it is just nice to watch a show about two adults who are complex and interesting and different fall in love, and then just like have all the shenanigans that happen because of their families and their friends and their lives. And just it what I really enjoyed about it is that it felt quite real. Like, it felt like, if these two people did find each other and fall in love, they'd probably have to go through all this stuff, obviously to an elevated comedic tone, but
mhm,
still relatively realistic enough for it to be like not a 2000s rom-com, but still also light and fun enough for it to be quite entertaining and really like easy to binge, easy to watch, and just something that's not like, because this, I would compare it to another show I watched on Netflix called Geek Girl, where it was just absolutely ridiculous, and like a similar sort of vibe to Emily in Paris, where it's more aggravating in its ridiculousness. While this Nobody Wants This was just so nice, and I
mhm,
really enjoyed it. And I think Kristen Bell like, I am here for the renaissance of Adam Brody. He is really good in these types of roles. I think they both have the like maturity of their own life experience that you can very clearly see, but it's also just a pleasant watch. And especially because part of the reason everything's exhausting is because everything, not only romances, but everything are so dark and everything's so intense. And it's just nice to watch something that's not about like, oh, everything's awful. Because I'm like, the
mhm.
world's awful as it is in real life. I just want to watch I just want to watch something nice. And
Mhm.
that's why.
Adam Brody, I would convert to Judaism for you.
I
Absolutely.
know. I was like, I mean, I'd do it. Like, just convert to Judaism. End of question. And
I'm a huge Kristen Bell fan, and this
hmm
just was such a fun Kristen Bell performance.
Can I just
That
say, she only does amazing shows. Like, between this and The Good Place and Veronica Mars, like, and I mean, even look, I know, but the original Gossip Girl was perfect for the time in which it came out, and so she's very good at picking shows.
yes, yes, I would agree with that. And their chemistry
It's
in those first couple
insane.
episodes was like, wow. Like
Yeah.
you two should be in love in real life, but
But also, they both seem to have extremely healthy relationships in real life, which I think is
they
part of the
do,
reason
absolutely.
why this worked so well, because I know that they brought a lot of that into their characters. And
Mhm.
then also, the show's based on a true story,
Yeah,
and they're still together and happy and stuff. So that's also very nice.
nice.
It's like the nice version of Marriage Story, if that makes any sense.
Wow. Okay. Not
I said
now.
nice version.
No. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah. Okay. I can
Yeah.
get on board with that. So good stuff. All right. My number nine, English teacher on.
Oh, that's my honor. That was the equivalent of Nobody Wants This for me.
Yeah. So this, I was looking for a show that was, I need 30-minute episodes, and I don't need a lot of episodes. And I had heard good things about English teacher, and this reminds me a little bit of a more raunchy version of Abbott Elementary in a ways, because there are certain aspects where they're talking about the plights that face us in the education system right now. They have a whole thing about guns. They have a whole thing about parents, parental rights, and everything like that. And it's just so heightened and
hmm
ridiculous, but also it makes a lot of good points at times as well. And they're like, this is just like a ridiculous cast of characters for all of these teachers. Like, I, on the surface, it doesn't feel like it should work, but it does because they balance each other out in a way that I
Mm.
really appreciate. The interactions with the students and just some of the questions that the students ask are
Kelsey
hilarious.
syndrome.
Yeah, the English teacher is definitely worth checking out, and another win for FX this
Yeah.
year.
It took me an episode or two to like get on the wavelength because I think I watched the first episode and I'm just like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like
Mhm.
obviously I knew what it was getting at, but I think it kind of settled into like an understanding like this is trying to take a look at a whole bunch of things and
Mhm.
be funny and satirical about it, but also like I started really connecting with the characters too and actually started
They're
feeling
all
for them.
three-dimensional. Every
Mhm.
single one
Yeah.
of them are super three-dimensional, ironic, like of the main cast, which is hilarious when everyone else is a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Shane, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Sugar. Love me some
Mm.
Colin Farrell, and that will
Yeah.
not be the only Colin Farrell out on
Oh.
my list. But this show was probably the most unexpected show for me in 2024 because halfway through this, you're just like, wait, what? And like that was such a bold narrative choice that they make in this show. But from the first like 10 minutes, I love this character. I think Colin Farrell does such a great job with this character. Very relatable to cinephiles out there. And there's such a great thread of intrigue that's going on here. And like the specific season story intrigue and then the big picture intrigue. And I don't know if they announced anything about a second season or not. And if they
I don't
cancel
know.
this, don't tell me right now because I don't
You
want to
can't
know
do it.
that right now because
It's
Apple
gotten
already
renewed. It's been renewed. Apple doesn't cancel things often, I find. So they're
It,
well, we're
actually
going
quite
to
good with
talk
this.
about one in a minute
it's
that
pretty. It is
is still
pretty.
hurting me.
It's pretty egregious if Apple does cancel something after
Mm.
one season, but
But no, this was a show that shocking and intriguing and just has great performances, a good supporting cast, and I just love Colin Farrell in it. So there you go.
your love of the show is going to depend on whether or not you buy the twist. And if
I
you,
do.
yeah, exactly. So I liked it.
Yeah, no, sorry. Finish your point.
No. That's all I was gonna say.
No, I mean, I think people saying like, "What? That doesn't make any sense," weren't paying attention to the show. That's
No,
like my hot take around it because I I think like episode 2, I was like, "Surely is this no?" And then that just made me pay attention more, and I was just like, I mean, it makes sense because of the way his character is. It doesn't make sense his character is not great without that element, if that makes any sense. It's like
Mhm.
that is literally why his character makes sense. And I'm talking around it because I
Yeah,
can't, but yeah,
no,
you guys know what I mean.
I
This is
gotcha. Yeah.
certainly something you don't want spoiled for you.
No, no,
Yeah.
most definitely
So
not.
so we're not
Yeah.
gonna. There you go.
Yeah, we're not contributing to this culture of spoiling things. So, okay. Alice, you're number 9.
Yes, so this one was my number 1 in the middle of the year. Now it's my number 9, and that's just because I've had more time to process some shows, but also it was really good, but I think it is also there's probably element of the opposite of recency bias behind it, but it is Has Been Hotel, amazing show. I'm so excited for season 2. Also, it's produced by a company in Australia, so that's always very, very fun as a support. But yeah, it's just absolutely hilarious. Such a fun time. Amazing musical numbers. I've seen it twice now, and yeah, like I think part of the reason it got knocked down is that there seems to be a lot of lore. I still enjoyed it just having watched the show and walked away, but there does seem to be a lot of lore surrounding its start on the internet as a and its kind of origins as a web series and that sort of thing that I just don't have the energy or the care enough to go back to and watch myself. But having said all that, I still very much enjoyed it as it's contained television like version. And I'm very, very excited. And I really really can't stress this enough. I'm very much enjoying this foray into animation that is not just for children. I've watched quite a few. There was a Twilight of the Gods came out on Netflix, and then obviously Arcane and all these Invincible's another one. Like just because something's drawn does not mean it has to be for kids. And I really enjoy that we're finally starting to do that, which means we can draw really cool things and not be like, but kids can't watch that.
Yeah.
So like the second best hospital in the galaxy was another like random, like more adult centered animation this past year. So definitely a lot of interesting things for sure.
And a shout out to another animated like adult animation one is Creature Commandos. Surprised that it was.
I keep getting clips for that.
I'm surprised that that was actually better than I thought it was going to be. But
love shows that reinforce taking down Nazis in 2024/2025.
Yeah, hot take of 2024 or 2025. Nazis are bad. Can't believe we live in a world where that has to be a hot take. All right. My number 8. My number 8 is Hacks, most recent season. So I think that this rightfully so should have won Best Emmy for comedy because this is a comedy series through and through. And I love the way that this season ended. I love the whole arc with Deborah Vance wanting to get the position that she wants to get. I thought that was a really smart move because how much further can we take a stand-up comedy comeback before eventually it's like, well, we got to take this in a different direction. So I really appreciated the take there, and it was kind of fun to see Deborah actually want something in a way that just wasn't exactly like purely for selfish personal gain. Because this one, she's looking to break barriers and kind of prove a point a little bit in the entertainment industry. And there's one line in this in the final episode of this season that really got me because it reminded me a little bit of when in Parks and Rec when Leslie asks Ben, it's like, hey, one day I'd really like to read the consolation speech that you wrote. And he was like, I never wrote one. And there's a moment very similar to that in this that I loved. So very curious to see what's next for Hacks. I don't see this lasting very much longer, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I'm still gonna enjoy it no matter how long it's on.
Performances are so great. There's a lot of interesting additions in terms of like guest stars and stuff like that this season. That revelation at the very end of this sets up a whole has a lot of potential.
Different dynamic, very much so.
And it was very interesting, like seeing them rekindle their toxic relationship this season and seeing where they both were at the very beginning of the season for Hacks. But yeah, I'm glad this show's finally getting some recognition because there's been too many really, really good comedy shows that have just been stuck in a corner by the bear recently. So
well, and it kind of makes me wonder that Hacks has kind of broken through, and it just kind of makes me wonder, like, how much longer does Abbott Elementary have to wait before they eventually break through? Because Abbott Elementary, by and large, has been probably the best, like one of the best comedies out there over the last couple of years. And the fact that it has not broken through and gotten as much, like it hasn't won like the big award yet, has been kind of weird to me, but hey, it is what it is. And do want to give a shout out. One of my favorite cameos this season is Christina Hendricks was just hilarious. Hilarious.
Wild.
It was ridiculous. So yeah, I'm all for that. So
he had some mommy energy.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right, that's my number 8. Which Shane, what is your number 8?
Agatha all along. I won't be getting into much of this for Alice's sake, but
thank you.
Catherine Hahn, amazing. Everybody else in this, amazing.
So good.
I could watch Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza together forever, just endlessly. And like, did I expect going into this show for some banger songs?
No, absolutely not.
Like,
that song is just Such a bop. I love it.
Dude, so good. Also, I have to say, I really enjoy just overt lesbian couple. That's great.
Mm.
Like, we can do that. Look, nobody died.
There is so much big
You hear
queer
that,
energy
Disney?
about this show, and it's just so confidently that. And there is at least one episode towards the end of this season that is one of the best episodes of television this whole entire year. It
Yes.
just, oh, and what this sets up too is very
Mm.
interesting, and where they're going to go with this. And I'm just looking forward to 2025, where Marvel's going to deliver a bunch of payoffs
Yep.
because of between COVID, the strikes, and just all of this, things have been just backlogged so much, and it's time to start just
Yep.
paying off a whole bunch of stuff. And this is one of those, why this is the kind of spin-off we're going to get, and they nailed it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
if you have a good story and good characters and just have this was a great idea, what they wound up doing with this. And it has so much potential to go in other interesting places too. So it was Agatha all along. Do, 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 do.
Aubrey Plaza is another person who has had a hell of a year this year. It did not end well, unfortunately. Like, all the condolences to her, because that really
Mhm.
sucks what happened to her husband. But between this and then my old
My old
ass
ass.
as well, great stuff. So, and
Killed me.
I loved Aubrey Plaza in this, but I also love the first episode. The first episode of this was so
Oh,
good.
I
And
was like Mayor of Easttown.
such a great way to start
Get
the
that
show,
Delco accent going.
Yeah.
and as a like,
Mm.
hey, don't forget that this was part of the WandaVision world. And then also, this was a show that I think last year I was not looking forward to at all.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the show was gonna be such a bad idea. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe, like, I get, like, part of that's probably on me as well, because I'm not really into, like, shows about witches either, but this one just hit in all the right ways for me. And Shane, I completely agree with you on that one episode later in the season. It's really good. So, Alice, come on, you got to get to it because it's so
I
good.
will have finished it by the end of January. We're every once a week we're watching a couple episodes,
Mhm.
and I mean, look, if I had finished the show, I can guarantee you it would be, if not high up, like number one on my list. Like, it is every I mean, I literally went to Salem this year. Like, I love things about witches, especially old school, like doing that proper lore element. You've got me. But yeah, the characters so far, Patty LaPone. Like, hello, she's amazing. And then also Joe
Just you
Locke.
wait.
Like,
Just you
I
wait.
have to
Yeah.
say,
Mhm.
another person who's had an amazing year is Joe Locke, you know? And so I am really impressed with him so far in this. I am so looking forward to seeing where it goes, and the relationship between Agatha and him, I'm adoring, and the relationship between Agatha and Aubrey Plaza's character, I'm adoring. And like, yeah, it's so fun. It's like, even, we've just gotten past the episode where there's like a 70s vibe. It's so fun, and also at the same time so heartbreaking, which is everything. And yes, I agree with you both. When they announced it, I was like, really? And then not because of the witches thing, it's just because I was like, okay, this seems like a cash grab. And now I'm just at the point where I'm like, in Marvel, I trust again,
this
essentially.
this show turned out to be like the anti cash grab. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not something that you
No.
just throw out there trying to get like mainstream attention. Like, this full blown goes well into exactly what it wants to be, and I think that's
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep.
Alice, your number 8.
My number 8 is, speaking of Joe Locke, Heartstopper Season 3, which the reason it is lower than it should be is because Season 4 has not yet been announced and confirmed, and I'm
Uh-oh.
very angry about it.
Mm.
It's just because the first season's all cute and fun, and look, they're getting together, and then the second season's all, they're in a relationship and they're getting to know. And then the third season is all sex and mental health. Like it went from like, we're all in high school and it's super cute romance to, and that's what happens in the comic books. And that's why I love it so much, because these are things that teenagers deal with. And what I really love is that these are things that do absolutely get threaded throughout the other seasons. You just ignore it because it's a show and you're like, oh, that's not real life. And it's like, no, it is. He got bullied. He has consequences. No, it is. They're in a relationship and they're at that age. They're going to be thinking about it in lots of different ways. And then also the panic of thinking about the future. That is absolutely also an element. And I know a lot of people didn't like go off about it as much as they did the first two, because it is a lot heavier. Like, it's not one where you can just put it on and be like, oh, this is so cute. You finish it and you're like, I'm exhausted emotionally, but it is still amazingly done. I still loved every episode and desperately they just need one more season to wrap up the entire story. So I am hoping that the reason is because Alice Osman, the author, they haven't actually finished, like they're currently finishing the story and it hasn't published yet. And so once that's done, maybe they'll be able to be like, oh, okay, yep, season 4 announcement. So, but also part of the reason I also love it, and this is the reason why frickin' Percy Jackson is not on this list, is because every year they've had a season come out, which means even though the actors have aged, they haven't aged insanely to the amount where it's unrealistic.
Look at
And
you,
now we're getting
Stranger Things.
and now Percy Jackson, where it's going to be 2 years in between season 1 and season 2.
They look
He's
different.
meant to be 13, like 12 to 13 in the next book. And
he's definitely
it's
not.
just, if you watch the first trailer and then you watch the trailer for season 2, and it literally starts out in the same where it's like, my name is Percy Jackson. But in the first season, it's like, my name is Percy Jackson, blah, blah, blah. And now the new one's dropped and it's like, my name is Percy Jackson. I'm like, yeah, his voice is dropped and he's he's a man now, and it's weird because he's meant to be 12.
He's gonna be 30 by the time all these
literally, because they're taking
out.
too freaking, because I remember after season 1 they were like, now we're gonna get in the writer's room for season 2. I'm like, now, yeah.
You maybe should have been in the writer's room a while ago.
Yes, also it's based on a book that exists. It shouldn't take that long. I mean, I have the same annoyance at Bridgerton, but at least they're all like adult age, so it doesn't really matter. When this is a real thing, and this, for the Harry Potter show when it comes out, not that I'm looking forward to it because I don't think that it's too soon to have a remake, but that's a whole other conversation. If they do it every 2 years, oh my God, it's going to drive me insane. So anyway, I really loved Heartstopper season 3.
Tell the creators of and the makers of How to Train Your Dragon that, hey, it's way too soon to make a live action remake of that.
Well, just about the Harry Potter thing, at least they won't have to age them up for that epilogue at the end.
That's true. They'll just have to pay money to de-age them constantly.
I am not surprised that we have picked 9 different shows to talk about. I have a feeling that this might be our first punt. My number 7 is Fallout.
Yeah, punt.
Okay. All right. That's all good. Shane, what's your number 7?
Bring on the punt, because my number 7 is Shogun.
Punt.
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 And I have a feeling I'm about to get punted as well. My number 7 is the Penguin.
Yes, punt.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Okay, I spoke way too soon on that.
No, you spoke at the perfect time because they saw it coming.
All right. My number 6 is probably the closest thing to a show that not a lot of people have watched / not a lot of people have even heard of, unfortunately. But my number 7 is Say Nothing on FX. And Say Nothing is about the troubles in Northern Ireland during the height of the IRA. And it centers around the disappearance of this woman who she gets kidnapped in front of her family, and then it recounts some of the circumstances of individuals in the IRA during this troubled time where there was a lot of violence. It's a riveting show. It's really good because the acting in this is fantastic. It is based on like a true story-ish. And one thing that I will give it a lot of credit for is that it's not always easy to have a show where you're doing kind of like a flashback for the majority of the episode. And it kind of felt, the narration felt organic, and it's not just like somebody telling a story because they're like chronicling this as a way to, you know, just remember it in the event that someone gets killed. There's one episode where two people are put in prison and they go through a hunger strike, and the whole thing with that is just very rough to watch, but it is one of the best episodes of television out there. Very tense, very good, and yeah, I loved Say Nothing. And again, just another win for FX. They do miniseries so well. So, and also, I could see other studios and streamers passing on this because they're just like, we're good, and FX is like, bring it on, and then it's amazing. It's really good. It would not surprise me also if it gets some Emmys consideration when it is eligible for that. So that is my number 6. And judging by both of your responses, it's like, nope, that's
On the list.
Just added it to my list though, because last time you did that was Dinosaur, and I love that show so
Oh, that
much.
was that.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I did watch that as
yeah,
well, Shane.
yes,
That was good pick for that.
yeah. Oh, that was you, Shane. Sorry, yeah. One of you recommended it, and I'd literally never heard of it, and then I went and immediately watched it all. And so I'm
That
now
was a wonderful
writing,
experience this year.
yes, and now I'm screenshotting Say Nothing because I'm gonna add that to my list.
Shane, what is your number 6?
X-Men 97, season 1. Alrighty.
Speaking of Marvel having a great year, that yeah, that one's up there too. Alice, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Fallout.
Okay.
Okay, no pun. Cool, fantastic. I finally got around to it.
It's on my
Oh.
watch list with my wife. So
Okay, yes. Well, I finally, because I know that I think at the top of the year only you had seen it, Mike, and so like I finally got around to watching it and was obsessed. I love this show. Again, I haven't played the game, so I
No.
knew, like, I was asking my partner about it because he has, so I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And then I was surprised with how like accurate, or like not accurate, but like referential and quite true to it is, because I didn't expect it to be. It felt very like what, if this makes any sense, like kind of like how The Last of Us adaptation worked, where it's like it's an adaptation, like it's its own thing, but it is still very true to the source material in the best way. And again, Ella Purnell is fantastic as the main character, but also every single side character is just amazing. I very, very much enjoy Walton Goggins in this
Walton
show. He's
Goggins.
maybe my favorite character. Second to the dog, which I'm going to spoil this. The dog doesn't die. So that is something that I'm going to spoil for people, because that is genuinely something that puts me off shows if I don't know going in. I had to look it up. So
there was a legit, like, there was a concern. It's like,
yeah,
you better
this is the
not
type of
with
show that
dog.
would kill off the dog. Yeah, exactly. It's a dystopian show, for goodness sake. Like, of
Yeah.
course I'm terrified, but I'm just going to spoil it for you, Shane, because it is emotionally taxing. The dog doesn't die. That's all I'll say.
my wife will be happy to find that out, because she would have looked it up.
Yeah, I did. Literally, as soon as the dog was introduced as a main character, particularly in the way it is, I was like, no, I need to know. I'm Googling this. Like, and so it's all, I wouldn't have continued. I don't, like, I would have, but I would have had to skip a lot of scenes. But no, it is just really good. I'm so excited for season 2. Like, I'm really intrigued by it. I love a good dystopian conspiracy, like sci-fi flick. So great show.
Yes, agree with all of that. I love Lucy as a character as well. Just Ella Purnell is great, and to see the evolution of Lucy, who is all about the vault life, and then when she gets up on the surface, like, this is bullshit. This is not how it was portrayed at all to be, which then leads into questions about, like, what are they talking about in the vaults? And the fact that there's a mystery, like the mystery of like what's going on in the vaults, is also compounded with the mystery of what happened to the world as well. Like, I love what this had to say about like corporate responsibility or lack thereof, and how a organization would use some type of disaster to make a buck in any way possible. That never happens in the world or anything like that now.
Of course not. Who would do that?
But
I did very much enjoy Kyle MacLachlan's character and everything surrounding that character. Like, again, what I do really enjoy about the show is that nothing is as it seems
yeah.
constantly.
Mhm.
And so you just, even if you think you've figured it out, you haven't.
The two other shout outs for guest spots. Look, I'm not a huge Michael Rappaport fan at all,
Mm.
but his brief cameo was like it was kind of funny. I will give him credit for that. And also a couple funny Matt Berry instances as
Mm.
well.
And Chris Parnell. I very much enjoyed Chris Parnell's
Oh yeah,
role.
that was great because Alice, I had the same concern as you. It's like I've never played the video game, and I was
Mm.
concerned that I was going to be lost in a way that I was kind of lost a little bit with Halo, a little.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes, I felt
but
that same thing.
I didn't feel lost in this, and I
Mm.
felt that this did a good job of just world building. Just
Yeah,
was fantastic. I'm very
agreed.
much looking forward to season 2 when it comes out in 2045. So
I am also excited. That gives me plenty of time to catch up on
there we
season
go.
one.
We're
Five.
we're back to me.
Back to you. Yep.
I'm just gonna say it because I know it's gonna get punted. My number 5 is the Penguin. Shane, what's your
Punt.
number? Shane, what's your number 5?
I don't think this is gonna come up. So, and now I could get mad at Apple. My number 5 is the Big Door Prize season 2.
Yep.
I
Yep.
I
This
finally
is the
watched.
most
I finally watched.
unwhole
Yeah.
of
Didn't I
the
accidentally tell
bangers.
you in the last episode that it got
Yes.
cancelled?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
this season did wonders because it took my one of my least favorite characters
Mhm.
of season 1 in
Mm.
Giorgio and turned him into a legitimately lovable character that I actually cared about. I don't know what about this show. I fell in love with all these characters that I cared about them figuring out this mystery. And this mystery intrigues me so much, which is why it's unbearably frustrating that it leaves you where it leaves you. Chris O'Dowd, I love him so much. And in this particular season, he was so good at making me be so mad at him because
Mm.
he makes so many goddamn mistakes in this season. And
Oh.
in an I'm an invested kind of way where I'm just like, I'm disappointed in you
Mhm.
because
Yep.
I do care about you and I want you to do better.
Mhm.
And I told Jess, if they split up, I'm gonna stop watching this show. And I think I cursed myself because then
Hmm.
the show got canceled. And I just the and like oddly, like the music is like such gives such an interesting vibe to this show. It's one of those shows where if you love the characters so much and you love just being in there with them, you can really connect with it. And this really hit for me, and I'll never know what happens next.
Yeah, I Shane, since we last talked about our top 10 shows, I have watched this,
Hmm.
and yes, I share your frustration and your anger with that in a rare cancellation midstream for an Apple TV show, which they don't do
They
that very
don't do
often.
that.
Um,
Yeah.
This
which is
must have like we must have been like the three people that watched it.
Yeah, I think so. To
They
be fair, I
canceled it.
never heard anybody talk about it ever anywhere. And on the one of the TV apps I use, it had like no reactions on it so often. So
that is fair, unfortunately. But yeah, that's Shane. That's a great pick. Alice, you're number 5.
my number 5 is Rings of Power Season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, it's good. Okay, it's a great show. It's much better than what I would say is my, if we were going to do it, my TV show, not for me, House of the Dragon. Don't like that one. Love Rings of Power. I think it is in especially more interesting this season because this
Yes.
season really delves into the corruption
I
of Sauron. And I think it's done in a heartbreakingly like fantastic way. I think that the way Celebrimbor's entire journey, amazing to watch. I very much enjoyed the old Tom, okay, and his whole thing with that character, and kind of learning. Again, you don't realize it's like, oh yeah, the hobbits. They need to be created at some point, and so you're just kind of like watching that kind of start to happen. And then again, I am a Galadriel stan. I think that what they did with her character this season, where they kept everything you had from the first season, but then where in the first season she was often right, there was a lot this season that had you doubt her, but particularly my favorite character by far is oh my god, of course I've forgotten his name now. My favorite character whose name I can't remember. The other elf, the main elf, Hugo Weaving's character. Oh,
Elrond.
thank you,
Elrond.
Elrond. I was like, Ella Brimbor, that's completely
I
wrong.
I will cut all of that out and we'll just say I got you. It's all good.
Elrond is, it's because I literally like, I just think about Galadriel, but yeah, no, Elrond's character development this season is some of my favorite. I just think all of the character development, it's all good. And look, you can see the money in the way that this show is. Like, it is beautiful. I am always just enjoying
Jeff
the
Bezos money.
I mean, look, if you're gonna have that amount of money, like at least it looks good. Because there are a lot of times I watch shows where I'm like, I know there's money behind this, but I don't believe you.
Wheels of Time.
Yeah, Wheel of Time is definitely one of those shows.
Yeah, which again, ironically, like I still enjoy that, but it is definitely not to the same standard because they also don't have that amount of money. And I think part of the reason why this looks good is because they clearly had the time and the care to just do all the special effects and the integrating, and the music's amazing as well. Like, oh, and all of that, the fight scenes, some of the combat in this season is crazy. Like, I was like on my couch just with my eyes and my mouth just completely wide open for particularly in the last couple episodes. And then again, I the Sauron presence, some of my favorite. I adore that characterization. Not in that like I like them because obviously they're very evil.
No,
but I mean,
definitely get what you mean.
Yeah.
In regards to that.
I have a bold statement that this season might have the greatest shot in the history of television, and that is involving a Belrog. Because I just remember watching the finale, just like,
dude. Yeah,
that was the hardest shot I think I've ever seen.
And I was just literally sitting there going, and I've still got an hour left in this episode.
Right?
Dude,
Well,
that was amazing.
My biggest complaint, as always, for this show, there's not enough dwarves.
That is definitely fair. But the whole storyline with the dwarves this season was
outstanding. How could I
with,
forget?
With their corruption with the rings. I think it's kind of shitty that Charlie Vickers has not gotten more awards buzz, because
I agree.
What he's done these first two seasons, it's not only drastically different, but he's just got, I hate to sound cliche.
You kind of get it. You get it. Like you get how everything's happened.
Yeah, it's like this guy could probably convince me to make Rings of Power. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I think just the scope that he has. Like, I hate to sound cliche, but he's just got it. And it's just so much charisma, and just he's so convincing with everything. And I agree with you that the fight scenes are just incredible this season, particularly in the latter half. But for me, what really sells this is just any moment with Sauron and Celebrimbor. Like particularly those last couple episodes was like, if I could just have a whole episode of this and maybe cut some of the shit out with the hobbits, like, and even like the Numenor.
The hobbits bits. That's so nice.
The Numenor part of this season was
but it's aggravating in the best way, because you're like, you idiots.
Numenor had X-Pac heat for me. I'm just like, I wanted to turn this show off. They went back to the storyline.
Yeah.
But Rory Keener is Tom Bombadil. I hang out with that man anytime.
Yeah.
I can't believe they managed to incorporate that character. They've been trying for years and been like, I can't. He's too ridiculous.
He's too silly for what we're trying to do. And then he's not silly. And what they did was so interesting. I will admit some of the the lamb shading's a little eye rolly for me. But it's
also like, you have to remember what Lord of the Rings is. Like, why J.R.R. Tolkien wrote it the way he did. And like, it is meant to be a mythology. And this, I don't know if you've ever read mythology, the amount of lamp shading and foreshadowing and ridiculousness in those, it's a great world. And that's why I give it a lot of grace, because I'm just like, yeah, you have to put all the pieces together so we can get Lord of the Rings.
No, good call out with that. All right. So my number 4 then is X-Men 97. And the reason why this still remains pretty high on my list is that part of it is nostalgia because I grew up on the X-Men show and the X-Men are my jam. Right now, like I get what you both are saying that like Marvel, this is a pivotal year for them, and they've kind of taken a step back and kind of let us walk back from the ledge of the superhero fatigue thing. But right now, for me, my big thing, I'm waiting for the X-Men. That is all. Marvel's playing with house money right now, in my opinion, and I will still watch and support everything that they do. Bring me the X-Men. I don't care when, just bring it to me now. And
You lied, Mike. You said whenever they bring it, you want it now.
yeah. But for them to continue, like this isn't like a sequel or anything. This feels like a continuation of X-Men 97 down to the campy 90s dialogue, jokes, and clothing. I appreciated the fact that like Wolverine is not the main character. Like there's plenty of other X-Men.
No, Wolverine's a dick.
We can showcase plenty of other people in this. And Magneto just continues to prove why he's one of the most compelling characters in, dare I say, television, really, because the speeches he gives and just everything that he goes through and his backstory just makes him just one of those fascinating characters where you're like, yeah, I get your point. I really do, man. And the Gambit centric episode is still one of my favorite episodes of this entire year. And I don't admit this lightly. I don't cry a lot during TV shows because it's a TV show. We've talked about this before. The world is shit right now. So we're all dead inside now because of all the horrible things happen in the world. But that Gambit episode made me cry. I will admit it. So and then that rogue line at the end, and then I cried harder. Fuck you, X-Men. Like honestly, like why would you do that to me? But it's all for the sake of just amazing story. I'm super nervous about what's going to happen with season 2. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff I'm concerned about, but we'll just see what happens. Well, I trust them to get it right. I trust them a hell of a lot more than I trusted Fox ever to get the X-Men right. So this was just a step in the right direction, and I greatly appreciated that.
I think one of the biggest things about this show is that it understands how powerful mutants can be because the fight scenes in this when like Storm is a goddess in this and it shows when Storm just goes full-blown power mode in that first episode.
Mhm.
That Sentinel fight was like everything I want out of X-Men. And also it made me so happy having Beast be
Mhm.
Beast again. I love Nicholas Holt. I don't love Nicholas Holt Beast. And I don't think that's really his fault. I just did not like what they did with that character over the course of those prequel series. This brought back all of those feelings of those characters, and there's some big, bold storytelling elements in this series that just
Mhm.
hit hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, Gambit
Well,
at that
and I never knew that I needed a Wolverine and Nightcrawler team up fight in my life, but I'm now a better person because of it. There, I said it. All right, Shane, you're number 4.
Star Wars Acolyte.
Punt, punt, punt.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Word punt.
Alice, you're number 4.
My number 4 is bringing back an earlier topic of conversation, Sweet Pea. It was surprising how much I enjoyed that. Again, shouldn't have been because I should have just looked at who made it and Seesaw Films and then been like, oh, yes, of course.
Duh. Yeah. Mhm.
Duh. Because again, they've made Slow Horses and Heartstopper two of like every time they're on, they're my favorite thing that I'm watching. Slow Horses just missed out on my list again. It was like literally like there were a few that would have been like 11, 12, 13 equal, but I had to make 10. But Sweet Pea is, again, starring Ella Purnell and also a few different sort of recognizable faces, including the manager from Ted Lasso. He's in it as a completely different character, by the way. But it is So it's about a girl who's always felt invisible. She grew up bullied and everyone's always walked all over her. And instead of in where maybe a normal kind of sort of thing, she might decide to get her life together and get it on track. She decides to just start killing people, bullies specifically, because it starts one night when her dad died. She's going to lose her house. She's at the worst stage. She's getting walked over again at work. And one guy essentially talks to the wrong person, that being her, and she stabs him. And so begins.
Well, you can't forget the thing that truly pushed her over the edge
Yes.
is her dog.
Yes. And then her
Cannot
dog died.
cannot
Yes.
forget about that because
Yes, which all happens in the first episode. So this is very much a framing piece.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying, Mike, about her dog and stuff?
No, I was just saying like don't forget about that because
Yeah.
like when that happened in the first episode, it's like
I was
Jesus,
like, are you
like
kidding?
how much more can this person take before eventually she's gonna snap? And then when she does, it's like, yeah,
Makes sense. But
yeah.
what I really enjoy, again, this is British black comedy. I need to stress this so much because that is the tone you will get. It's like equal parts funny and horrifying at the same time. And again, every scene you don't think so, but every main sort of character does have multiple dimensions, which is very, very good. I think it's got some of the one of the most interesting final episodes I've ever seen, where I was very relieved to find out it's getting a season 2 because I was like, I can't. And then I also found out it's based on a series of books, and there's like 5 books
Really?
or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm really happy kind of consuming it in this way because I think they've really adapted it very well. And to take someone like Ella Purnell, who is a beautiful woman, and just kind of turn, I think she has one of those faces, particularly because of how big her eyes are, which is why she works in so many different formats. And in this, it really kind of, the way they framed her, the way they framed her character, it's so eerie, but also because of the way they tell the story, you kind of on her side, but you're like, I shouldn't be on her side. I definitely am not morally, but like at this
Get it.
point,
You get it.
I get it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just, I love the moral complexity of it all. I love the character building. I love the world building of this kind of like depraved, awful England sort of thing in this tiny little area of it. And yeah, it's so entertaining. It's also only 6 episodes. Each episode's like 43 minutes. Great. Can recommend. And it's getting a season 2, which I'm very happy by.
That final episode,
Oh.
particularly the second half, I was just like on the edge of my seat the whole time. And
me too.
what
I could not stop thinking about it for about a week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy this a lot. When I requested to review this for Sif Pop, Robert was like, what is this again? Like, I've never even heard of this. And truthfully, neither did I. The reason why I requested to review it was Ella Purnell. That's it. Like that was it. That's it. And that is the mark of you have made it in Hollywood. If I could just be like, Ella Purnell, I am in. And yeah, that's good call out with that one, Alice.
Thank you.
All right. My number 3 is going to get punted. Shrinking.
Slight punt.
Slight punt. Like a baby punt.
Honorable, that just missed. It's my like first honorable mention.
Okay. Shane, you're number 3.
What We Do in the Shadows, season 6. And I'm just gonna cry this one out real quick. This makes me really sad that this show's over because
I know.
this has been my favorite show on television for what I guess the past 6 years. And it's just so funny. And these characters have just grown and gone through so much. I thought this last season with this whole entire Guillermo gets a job, and then all of them like force their way into his job life. And Laszlo with his Cravenworth monster creations. And there was some fun additions like Steve Coogan popping up in this season was so unexpected. And I'm like, how are they going to end this? And I thought it was a fun way that they were like, oh, yeah, they're done filming.
Yeah. And then
it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And I just love these characters and I'm going to miss them so much. And like, I know like the ratings on like IMDb across the board were a little lower for this season, but like
I don't know
I just
why. It made me cry like every episode.
that Warriors episode was glorious. And the Apocalypse Now episode was ridiculous. And
Hmm.
it's just this was
Cry of
such a
laughter, I should mention.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this was such a creative show. And
Mm,
obviously Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi like made it and let it
mm,
run.
Mhm.
And what they, the creators of the show and the writers and everything, and this cast, this just, I think one of the biggest travesties is that this never got any recognition from awards in a significant way. And Matt Berry is legitimately one of the funniest human beings. My wife and I literally just listened to an audiobook, Toast on Toast, which is just him as Stephen Toast giving cautionary tales because he's legitimately that funny. I can just listen to him talk hours and saying the stupidest shit. And I just, these characters went on such a great journey over the course of these 6 seasons, and this was such a fun way to wrap it up. And even up to like the final moments, I just, Guillermo and Nandor, one of the best romances in television. So
Uh,
there you go.
yeah.
Legit laugh out loud funniest moment for me this season was Guillermo coming out in a cowboy costume. I thought that that was great. There's a scene in a cemetery where Nadia and Laszlo have a conversation that is both it's hilarious for a lot of different reasons, but it's also like extremely heartwarming as well. It's like,
Mm,
oh, this is great. There's Guillermo's job, like not only does he get a job, it's in corporate America as
Yeah.
well. And there's a couple scenes where it shows Nandor kind of watching what's happening to Guillermo, and my heart broke for him. And I
Because
did
they're in love.
so like this season's great. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, I'm looking at my list, and this is the show, like, not there wasn't a whole lot of like unexpected or like holy shit cancellations this year that like caught me really off guard. And there weren't a lot of shows that just ended organically that I was like, I'm
mm.
gonna miss this. But this was it. This was the show that's like, I get it. And a lot of great meta commentary in the final episode about what happens at the end of season 5. But I loved it. I'm gonna miss this. And again, just another win for FX.
This would have been on my list, but I haven't finished it yet, so wait for me to finish it.
All right. Alice, your number 3.
I won't spend too much time on it because, like I said, my top three I had on my other list, my earlier this year list. So this one is, fittingly enough, season three of Bridgerton because I still very much enjoyed it, even though notably the second half of the season, the second half that came out a month later of the season, is weaker than the first half, and that's because I think it was written as two halves, and it really, really feels like that. So, but having said that, Nicola Coughlan and Luke Newton were still like enticing and magical, and I love the Bridgerton series. I really do. I think that it's, again, it's kind of allowed for that kind of like more adult romance, happy ever after element that has been missing, I think, from a lot of just stories because we've been so obsessed with making things realistic, and it's just like that's, you don't have, I'm literally watching things to escape right now. Please let
Mhm.
me escape to a happier place. The music is still some of my favorite music in like media right now. I think whoever it was that had the idea of like, what if we just took nowadays song and orchestrate them as classical music, should get a raise and a promotion because that was a genius move that has defined the series in so many ways. And I think it also allows for those more modern elements to kind of make their way into the story and it not be so jarring. So really enjoyed it. I look forward to season 4 in frickin' 2026 because apparently this sort of show takes 2 years to make. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I'm also looking
Because
forward to it because,
Netflix.
yeah, literally because Netflix. But I'm also looking forward to it because the main female love interest from season 4 is going to be Benedict's love story. and the actress who's going to be playing Sophie is the character is an Australian Korean. So that's fun. Yeah. So I'm looking forward. And it's a Cinderella kind of retelling as well.
Oh.
And the stepmother is being played by Cho Chang, which I was like, she's old enough to play a stepmother. I know.
No.
Look at us.
100 years old.
It's so hurtful, but also true. My daughter has listened, or we've read the first two Harry Potter books. We've watched the first two Harry Potter movies. And the first thing I thought of, because it's been a while since I've rewatched the first Harry Potter movie, is like, they're just babies.
Yeah.
And also, so many of the older actors are gone, and it just breaks my
Dude,
heart.
that's part of the reason why when they were like they with the new Harry Potter show, they've released like the theorized who's gonna play. Yeah, and like the guy Roy from now also shrinking, but Ted Lasso, he's theorized as being playing, or not theorized, he's suspected as playing Hagrid, and like all these sort of Mark Strong as Dumbledore, that sort of thing. And I'm just like, I literally don't understand because I don't think I can watch Snape and it not be Alan Rickman. It's not going to work.
It's gonna be hard.
Because the problem is that they're gonna probably like actually cast people in the accurate age of what a lot of the characters, because they were not accurate in the movies. But it worked better, in my opinion, because of the way the story's told. And I just, how could you have Snape not talk like this? You know? Anyway.
Great question. I don't know, but yeah.
They should just age up Jude Law. Like
literally at this point,
it's
he's the same age as Mark Strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was not Jude Law's fault that those Fantastic Beast movies.
We don't.
I could have watched
those.
him and Mads Mikkelsen flirt across the table from each other.
Oh yeah, that was honestly the good part of that movie, and nothing else was.
All right, on to our top two. My number two is Industry season 3. And so last year, Succession, was it last year or was it 2 years ago? Anyways, Succession.
Last year. It was last year.
It just feels like, no, it was technically 2 years ago, Alice, but so Succession ended, Barry ended, and there was kind of a void for what's HBO's prestigious show. What's going to happen, because they are trying to jam House of the Dragon down our throats to make it be like, hey, you love Game of Thrones, you're going to love this prequel. It's like, no, we're not. But Industry, it's taking some cues from Succession in terms of just talking about the plights of a particular industry. In this case, it's the financial industry and just this whole notion of the stock market. But what it's also doing is giving us commentary on what happens to individuals, like particularly young individuals, when they get a shitload of money and they're also not good people as well. That's just a very toxic combination. I feel like this show, season 2, or this show over the last couple of years has kind of flown under the radar a little bit. And I feel like this has been more of its coming out party, which sucks because season 2 is fantastic. And season 1 is good. It's just nowhere near the heights of season 2 and this season in particular. I think Kit Harington in this is just a dastardly person. And just the way that this talks about like the fakeness that we have around green energy initiatives as well. I thought that was really spot on. And the characters in this are just all really super compelling, and they're all dealing with their own traumas, and the way that they all treat each other as well is just so horrible, but also they're friends as well. I don't understand how any of these people are friends, but they manage to be friends. But the end of this season, there's going to be a bit of a shift, I think, and there's going to be a lot more interesting things that are happening. And I don't necessarily know if that's a good or a bad thing. But for me right now, Industry is BO's best TV show. And I don't say that lightly, but I also look at the landscape and like The Last of Us hasn't been on we've been waiting for The Last of Us for a while. And The Penguin allegedly is only going to be one season. So and I hope that the White Lotus comes back and it's great, and then I have to have this conversation in my head again about like, well, what is HBO's best show? But for me, like pound for pound, like particularly this year, on maybe a lighter year for HBO in terms of good prestigious TV, Industry is taking that spot, that void that was left from Succession, and I hope that it continues to find an audience, and it continues to grow because it did get renewed for a season 4, thankfully. And I like highly encourage anyone if they're looking for like new prestigious TV in the wake of, hey, we're probably going to get a Shogun season 2 in like 2045 as well. So if you're looking for like a prestigious show, definitely check out Industry because it's really good.
So many shows to look forward to in my 50s.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say. A lot coming out in 2045.
Marissa Avila
Mhm.
is going to be a star.
Yep.
And I wish that Amy Winehouse movie was better and that she was in.
Yeah.
But
We
no,
don't speak about that movie.
Really
It's a
should.
bad movie.
It could have been.
But no,
so much better.
I love her in this show.
Mhm.
I think she's absolutely incredible. And it's very true. I think HBO is in a very, very interesting place
It's a
right
tr-
now.
They're at a bit of a crossroads right now. So
They tried Dune Prophecy and
they tried. They tried
That was-
real
Well,
hard.
that's getting. I mean, it's getting a season 2. They've tried enough. Like,
Why do we live in a
no
world
dents.
where Dune Prophecy gets a season 2 and never mind? Why do I ask questions I already know the answer to? That Alice, that really bums me out. But I appreciate you telling me. You're a good friend. Thank you for that. But
oh, I bum out this group when I tell you something's cancelled. I bum you out when I tell you something's getting another season. I can't win.
You can't shoot the messenger.
Yeah,
have to
I
leave the
know.
house
This is
alone.
very true. This is very
It's not
true.
my fault I have the news of the shows that we watch. Okay, look.
That's true.
Even though Travis Fimmel is literally playing the same character he played in Raised by Wolves, but that's a whole other conversation. It's the same character. There's
Yeah.
no difference.
I'm pretty sure Doom Prophecy is just a spin-off of Raised by Wolves.
Right.
It's just as confusing.
Yeah.
Which also just randomly got cancelled before we got any answers to anything.
Yeah.
Somebody became a tree, and then they were like, "Never going to tell you what's going to happen there."
Well, at least Dune Prophecy had Robert Baratheon. That Mark
That's
Addy
true.
popped up, and I immediately was like, "Oh my god, it's just Robert."
Well, can't forget as well. Not only did Raised by Wolves get canceled, but it got canceled and removed as well.
Yeah.
You can only find Raised by Wolves in the hey. You could watch this for free, but you're gonna have to watch a shitload of ads for it as well. Like,
Yep.
no
So,
thanks. I'm good.
number
Shane,
2.
you're number 2.
Shrinking season 2. Every single episode.
Speaking of crying all the time.
Every episode of the show makes me laugh my ass off, and then also makes me want to cry. And those are complex mixing of emotions. This show has turned into such a lovely ensemble of characters, and every one of these actors is killing it. And dare I say, this is arguably Harrison Ford's best acting.
I agree.
Ever.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
He in that finale
Oh God.
broke me. Just like, no. And like Jason Segel is so hilarious, but similar to Chris O'Dowd in Big Door Prize season 2, Jimmy pissed me off a lot in this season, but like in a way that like I should be like I'm invested because I'm just disappointed in him. And just Derek.
Derek.
Like,
Everybody needs a Derek.
Everybody needs a Derek.
Everybody needs a Derek.
Either one. Like everybody just
Yes.
Absolutely either one. Yeah.
Now I got 2 Dereks. But no, just
Yep.
and I even like Derek, like what he deals with his wife's decision.
Oh, what an interesting story development. Like
Interesting
it was-
is a great way to put that. Yeah.
This
it
show
really just played out in a very like nice. I just think everything's so balanced in this show, even when things are super depressing or like intense. And I feel like a lesser show would have taken that storyline and played it out to its most dramatic like existence. And instead it did it in a way where it was like respectful and intriguing and you believe it. Like
it was mature. In the
Yeah.
way and that's what I love about this show is like people act irrationally sometimes. And there are people that can process their feelings in a healthy way. and will be mature about certain things. And I just love how like the two of them know each other so well and try to support each other. Just all these characters, it's so great. And the inclusion of Brett Goldstein's character shaking things up this season certainly added a lot of dimensions to it. And like I this is a show that I could just like this show could just live on, them dealing with their issues and us just being there with them for the ride and enjoying every single second of it. Damn. I thought after Ted Lasso ended,
Yeah.
Except it's getting another season, so
Yeah.
the most fake series finale ever then.
I know.
That was so series finale coded.
Yeah.
Well, it was a
like
series finale, and then they were like, "Oh, but everyone likes it. Should we just pay everyone and bring them back? Just
kidding.
end your shows. Just do it. Like,
you have
finish
shrinking
it."
now.
Which is that already is getting the Ted Lasso treatment, where it was written to be a 3-season arc, and they're already talking about how it could go beyond that. So
this deals with so many emotions and so many complex things and does it in such an insightful, funny, and honest way. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Largely agree with all of that. There's one cameo in this, the cameo involving the car. I am very curious to see where that goes moving forward, because
they're bringing that back. That has to.
They have to. They have to, because I loved that, and I was just not expecting it. Like that was something where I heard, like, I saw an article was like blah 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 is set to guest, and I was like, nope, I am not reading the rest of this. I don't want to know what happens. I was very concerned, so I turned away from that. But yeah, that I loved that cameo so much. So all right, Alice, your number 2.
my number 2 might get punted. It is Shogun.
Punt. Well,
Yeah, okay.
Can't really punt because
Until right now.
it just rolls to me, which my number 1
Yeah.
is Shogun.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know what else to say about
I know.
Shogun, because like it's been my number 1.
Objectively, this is
the greatest show, one of the greatest shows ever made. Yes, absolutely. And deserved every award it got, unlike Amelia Perez, but that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, yes.
Well, now you're playing with fire, Alice.
Yeah.
You're gonna rile us up.
I mean, it's
midnight.
part of a streaming service conversation, so I don't know. But yes, Shogun deserves all of the awards. It's beautiful, it's well acted, just the script is amazing, the themes are amazing, everything about this is great. Pound for pound, Anasawa is the best performance of the year for me still. When putting together this list, like in December, I was like, is Shogun still my favorite episode or favorite show of the year? And then I got 3 episodes in and I was like, yep, still is. And then, yeah, just great stuff there. This is kind of like a weird trend that's been starting to come up more and more. It's like, hey, it's a miniseries, but now that it's doing well, let's renew it for more.
In this case, I kind of get, because I remember it ending and I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, they just never showed that part of it, the battle type part. And I was like, oh, that would have been cool to see. And I feel like everyone was like, that would be cool to see. Maybe we could make a whole season about it.
But the interesting thing about that is, unlike in House of the Dragon, where it's like, I'm waiting for some dragons to fuck some people up. But that doesn't really happen in House of the Dragon.
Like, that's a once a season thing.
Get over it. That's because it's a short story that they're trying to expand into 4 seasons.
So with House of the Dragon, it just like kind of unceremoniously ends, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is the choice that you make. Oh, okay, good one, you guys. But in this case, to not show, like, to have it end a little bit more on a subtle side as well. I thought that was a bold move, but I also thought that was the right decision as well. So I enjoyed that. I am very curious because.
But don't you want to watch Hiroyuki Sanada just kick some ass?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and speaking of another person just deserving of all the accolades that he's gotten, just outstanding. And I feel like this year we've gotten a lot of shows, like Japanese centric shows, and I'm all
Yeah.
here for it because
Because the
between this,
weebs have all aged up into the correct age group to be able to control what gets made, which is good because that's also
It
my age
controls the
group.
media.
yeah,
That's my age group, so I'm very much enjoying it as well.
there we go.
But
All right,
also it makes sense because
yeah,
it's like the Japan if sorry, not to go off on a
no,
whole
go ahead,
other tangent, but yes,
go
like
ahead.
I love Shogun as much too because it's like Japan and China, but like Japan's obviously like closer as well because there's like anime and all that sort of stuff. The amount of historical lore, all the stuff that we find interesting about fantasy, not all, but a lot of the stuff that we find interesting about fantasy exists in the reality of Japanese history. Like, I mean, there's a reason why Jedi are literally just like
Memorized.
samurai. Like,
Hmm.
but then all the stuff you see in Game of Thrones with the like honor bound and oath breaking and all of that is literally like ingrained in Japanese history and Japanese culture. And also, so it makes so much sense that we're finally getting a lot of these kind of shows because that kind of magical element is naturally ingrained and makes sense within that setting. And so I also think it's impossible to ignore, ironically enough, given that it's not Japan, it's Korea. But I think that the integration of Korean culture into pop culture has really opened up Western people to be like, I can watch things in another language and it's fine. And
Hmm.
so we're able to finally just delve into these parts of society and history that are interesting and different and haven't been done 8 bajillion times because it's yeah, and I think that's why Shogun is so great because it's literally just like a like you said a better version ironically of House of the Dragon except that it's real quote unquote
It's
and
great.
it's
Yeah.
great, yeah, grounded. And I just think it's been like you just I fully agree with what you're saying with the subtlety. I also think it was the smart decision to go back to an earlier hot take of mine of it was only one season, one like season order. Don't end it on this weird cliffhanger. End it in a nice, subtle way that it's like, oh, we know what's going to happen, but if we don't ever see it again, that's okay. But given how successful it was, hell yeah, I want to watch a crazy battle like and get the season 8 of Game of Thrones that people wanted with just insane battles and betrayals and cool fight choreography. And I'm also, can I just also final point? I'm really really happy that Tadanobu Asano who played Kashigi Yabushiga, he won his Golden Globe and I thought he was one of the coolest characters, aggravating, but really very like the most little finger of it, a little finger, and it was great.
Yeah.
There's my little rant.
Like I wish that he would have gotten more awards, but I also
Mm,
get why he didn't because yeah, it just yeah, like yeah, I'm very happy that he finally got his just due for that
mm.
because he was just
And he
getting
was so happy.
yeah, exactly. All right, Shane, why is The Penguin your favorite movie of or favorite movie? Yeah, favorite.
Well,
Yeah, kind of. But tell us about
So
The Penguin.
when I first found out that they were going to give the keys to Gotham to Matt Reeves, I was so damn excited because I am probably one of the biggest Planet of the Apes fans you're probably ever going to meet. And what he did with those last two films was absolutely incredible. And then the Batman happened, and I absolutely love the Batman. And them introducing Colin Farrell as Oscob and just how amazing he was for what, like 15 minutes he had screen time in a 3 hour movie. And it stole every scene that he was in. He was so great. And then this did what so many other villain spin-offs don't have the courage to do, which
is
is
keep him a
keep them
villain.
a villain. Because then you understand where Oz is coming from.
You
That
understand
you
why he is the way he is.
is. And that's the point of it. If you're gonna do a spin-off and it like and this is like a true origin of the
The
penguin.
Penguin.
So
Yeah.
like because like he's not the penguin. He's not this big crime boss of Gotham at the
Mm,
beginning of this show, but he is the penguin by the end of this show. And just the
dude,
dynamics of
what a
these
final
characters.
episode.
What a
Oh, don't
villain,
talk to me about that. Don't I? But again,
villain
that right
origin
there was
story
the
right there.
perfect. Yes,
Mhm.
that because what that was necessary to remind the audience what we're watching because
Yes.
to your point, Shane, I understand, but it's important that you don't empathize with him or sympathize, because it's like,
Oh,
and I think that flashback
Oh yeah.
like episode
If
really
you if you thought
dude.
if you had any shroud of empathy or sympathy for him, that in that flashback episode does not change that, then
Then the final one will.
yeah.
which just the dynamic between Oz and Vic throughout this show, from like the very beginning of them just sitting drinking like sodas or whatever at the
Mm-hmm.
end of that first episode, and just the journey that they go on. And then
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Maioloni is
Oh,
so damn good.
should have won. Should have won all the. I'm furious. I'm furious because she has. I have loved her since I watched her as in the terrible season that it was, the final season of How I Met Your Mother. She's the best part of that season. Then I saw her in Palm Springs, my favorite movie of that year. Then I saw her in Made for Love, one of the most interesting television series that got cancelled, of course, after 2 seasons.
Thanks
And
HBO.
now, thanks HBO. And now I'm
Thanks.
seeing her in this, and she has made this a character that I now want in every single Batman adaptation of all time. One of the coolest character moments from TV is her in that episode with the green dress. Just that whole green dress sequence.
And
Yes.
how they subtly build out this world, Matt Reeves' Gotham, because there's some scarecrow teases in this. There are just
Mm-hmm.
expanding out the I this is gonna sound so, as an Italian American, looking at how they're expanding out the mafia elements of
Mm.
this makes me so happy, because
Because it's an actual mafia.
there's a couple of families here. Give Clancy Brown a nice Paisan card as Salvatore Moroni. Did you find it interesting? John Turturro chose not to come back for this and got
Well, that's because
replaced
he was
by
doing
Mark
Severance
Strong.
season 2, which like
Yeah.
No,
I get
apparently came out and said he didn't appreciate the violence against women in the show and
Oh,
chose not to come back.
Oh,
interesting. Okay, I thought it was because of Severance season 2 because of the
which
timelines and everything.
But
makes sense.
did get replaced by English
Mark Strong.
Italian Mark Strong, whose real name is very Italian actually. But this just
He has the
expansion of
Italian
this,
eyebrows.
you see it. It's just the acting's incredible, and this after Banshees, I'm like, this is Colin Farrell's moment. He did this. It's just like, holy crap, because they could have easily just cast somebody who's
Danny
more
DeVito.
like, I saw so many Richard Kind comments,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, but that's a very different
it is
Batman
very
to what
different.
we're getting.
But just Colin Farrell, who I hated as an actor when he first started. Between
Oh.
Daredevil and Alexander, I'm just like, I do not
Oh,
like this
man.
person. And ever since In Bruges has grown on me so much, and he's one of my favorite actors, and he seems like such a genuine, kind person now. He grew up, wasn't a dick anymore, but he's just so damn good in this. And that 1-2 punch of the two of them, this recontextualizes everything, and this makes me really hope that they don't fold this into James Gunn's DCU, so this could keep expanding out on its own, because that's what I want. I don't want this to be hamstrung into something bigger and having to deal with that. Just keep making these. Just keep making these. Let Matt Reeves play in a sandbox. That's all I want. Thank you.
No, I think I think this show, like I did not want this show. Calling back to even Agatha from earlier. When it was announced, I was like, really? I don't care. Like I was like, I don't care.
I
Just bring out Batman 2. Like it's fine. I like the Batman. I really liked the Riddler. I did not, and I liked Colin Farrell because he was in it for 15 minutes and he was perfect 15 minutes. So I was like, "Oh, all right, I'll watch it. And it's gonna be depressing, and they're gonna try and do The Sopranos, blah blah blah, and then they didn't, and then it was like every episode I was like, oh, that's pretty much how I ended every episode. I'd be like, oh, okay, and then they had the episode that introduces the Hangman and actually elaborates on that storyline, and I was like, that was one of the best episodes of television from this year. And then it has the flashback episode, and I'm like, that was one of the best television episodes of this year. And then it had the finale, and I was like, oh my God, what a show. And yeah, Colin Farrell is insane.
The only other thing that I will add to this, and this is just something that I've said a zillion times, kind of talking about the Penguin. I don't understand how we live in a world where HBO and Warner Brothers can get the Penguin right, and Sony can't get any of these fucking Spider-Man spin-offs right at all. And I get it. If you have writers that care and you've got a creative vision, like, yeah, that's going to take you pretty much most of the way. And also people who actually like give a shit about doing this, not doing it for a paycheck or not doing it as like a springboard. But
We're talking about Craven the Hunter was amazing. I can't even finish saying
yeah,
that
it was
sentence.
how dare you?
I was
But
there for the crow. That was all.
I have to say the action wasn't terrible. I enjoyed
oh
the action,
yeah,
but I think
Well, to
your
be
point,
fair, it did actually have a talented director of A Most Violent Year.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, I
then
mean, it just all fell apart. I think the issue with that, too, as I'm sure you're about to say, and I'll let you finish your point, Mike, is just like Shane was saying with this, and like you were saying, they weren't villains. They just made them all anti-heroes that did violent things. That's
yeah,
it. But
yeah,
yeah, continue. Sorry.
yeah. I don't understand how we can live in a world where Sony keeps getting to fuck this up and HBO gets this right on this try. Like good for them for that. Boy, this was a great year for superhero television in general.
Yeah.
Because Alice, I fully agree with you. Like when they announced this, I'm like, why? Like, can't we invest all of our time in getting us the Batman Part 2 or whatever the fuck it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be called now? But yeah, it does bum me out that if since we did this, there's a good chance that like Batman isn't coming out for like another couple years. But fine. Like if this is the end result, that we get a Matt Reeves inspired thing. It's not directly directed by him, but it feels a lot like what he's done.
Mm.
That's got to be good for continuity purposes, and it's got to be good for kind of the vision that Matt Reeves has moving forward.
I also love that essentially he's making the villains fit the hero because Batman's always been such like I am the knight, but then the villains are so kooky, and it's
Mhm.
like after the first Batman, all I could think about was what I'd love is Poison Ivy, but like as an eco bioterrorist. You know what I mean? Like these sort of villains that you can see where they're coming from, might even agree with them in some weird effed up way. But
Mhm.
like in this case, again, yeah, to kind of bounce off your point, it's like part of the reason I was like, oh, why? It's because I was like, the penguin's a penguin. He's a stupid little dude that waddles, like, and he's evil. Like, but then it's like, no, he's like, he made the penguin scary. I
Yeah.
would not want to be in anywhere near, and that's like the same with the Riddler. Like, stupidest villain, scary, like
Mhm.
horrifying, in fact.
Mhm.
And I think that
just make
again
the
with this,
Riddler the Zodiac killer.
Mhm.
yeah,
You
well,
just
yeah,
make
exactly.
there you go.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like when it was announced, I was like, I don't understand, and now I get it because I can then like, he can just have the penguin be fully realized in the movie, and it'll be enough from movie one that you can just watch movie two and have him in it. And if you haven't seen the show, it'll still be fine. Know who the penguin is, but if you have seen the show, there's all this extra. It's like a companion novel. It's like you don't have to, but it will enhance your experience. And then that means that you then have space in the main novel or the main movie to spend time on other villains or other storylines or further developing Batman and letting villains be villains. It's okay if
Mhm.
someone is just evil. Freaking like I'm so sick of us going back and doing prequels and whatever and making villains good guys that have been misunderstood. I'm like, no. Some people are just evil, and that's okay. Like, it's not
Mhm.
okay, but it's okay. You know what I mean?
No, like
That's the
from a
thing.
storytelling perspective, that's okay. We don't. There are some characters out there that do not need additional context, nuances, or layers. Some people
Yeah.
are just bad, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that being their thing in a story.
And you can
Plain and
have
simple.
layers and context, but you can still have them just basically be like, no, no, they're just bad. But here's
Mhm.
some layers to the like they're
The be-
interesting, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, like Thanos. That's why Thanos is so good. And Killmonger. The reason they are ultimately bad. They are evil. They are doing the wrong thing. It's just obviously there's a scale, and like Penguin's like all the way on the end of evil, but like ultimately they're still bad people, and that's okay.
All right. Alice, bring us home with the acolyte.
Oh my God. I'm extremely furious that this has been cancelled because, in my opinion, it's exactly what Andor is, but for the fantastical element of Star Wars. Like, again, I know I definitely went on about it and in the last episode, and like I having now seen the full story and taken time to think about it, I think it has one of the best Star Wars stories in Star Wars. Like it is, I love actually seeing a freaking lightsaber bleed. Are you kidding me? That was so cool. And the relationship, the creation of the acolyte, the way, in a way, kind of similar into Fallout, in the way where it's like just because they're good does not mean that people are good. They have layers, and the whole do or do not, there is no try, is a stupid thing to live by. No one can do it, and which is why everyone constantly fails. And that's why the Jedi are not infallible. And I love that. I love exploring that because at the end of the day, they are humans. You can pretend that they're infallible, but they are some of the most fallible people. And this need to control your emotions will only end badly. And it also shows how, like, limiting and being so absolutist about certain things and in to the point of being like, no, you can't use the Force because the Force is like this. Star Wars fans, literally doesn't work because it's literally a force. Like, of course, it's not all just going to be the same thing in a galaxy far, far away. Of course, there's going to be lots of different interpretations of it. And I loved all the characters. I loved all the different like developments of the magic behind it. I love that they didn't rely on any like infamous characters until the very, very, very end is a little bit of a, oh, maybe, but they let the first season stand on its own. And I am a big fantasy girl. I love fantasy, so I was there for it. I loved it. I'm furious, and I'm hoping that somehow, some way, it gets a season two. Especially because Manny Jacinto, amazing, like absolutely fantastic performance.
Yeah.
This has some of the best action you're ever gonna see
Oh,
in any Star Wars anything.
yes.
Like that one episode with that big fight was just incredible. And then and this is why, like, you gotta watch the whole damn season. People
Yeah.
had so many complaints the first two episodes
Mm-hmm.
or so where it's just like they wasted this character, and it's just like just watch the show and then you get more of those characters
Mm-hmm.
in context. And one of those, and this is like a big just fan moment of, we got to watch a Wookiee have a lightsaber
That was
battle,
so
and
cool.
it's terrifying,
Yeah.
like, because it's a Wookiee with a lightsaber. It should be terrifying. And there's so many interesting layers to this. And what could have been is so frustrating, especially because they introduced one particular character that I'm pretty sure so many Star Wars fans have been waiting to see pop up in live action.
And it would have
And
made
they,
sense in context.
yeah, and now we're not gonna get that.
No.
And it's
But also,
sad.
can I just say the fact that Lee Jung Jae literally learned English for
Yeah.
this role? He still doesn't really like in interviews and stuff for Squid Game, he still speaks in Korean because he's not super comfortable with it. But you wouldn't know it from watching the show. His work, I loved his character. I thought his character was so, and especially with how it progresses. But yes, I definitely want a lightsaber that I can get a tiny little lightsaber knife out of. Like, where is that? That's amazing. And how has that not been shown before? Like,
And there's real stakes in this
yes.
because there's characters that we feel connected to, and it's just like not
Mm.
everybody's gonna make out of this show okay.
I'll just say Daphne Keane really that hurt. That really hurt. Like, I love her character so much. I love her as an actor, but like I just love yeah, there are stakes, which is also something that Star Wars has not always been amazing with historically. And it's just nice but there's stakes that aren't just like, haha, Game of Thrones, you're not gonna, every character's gonna die, you can't trust it. It's more like, oh, I get why that had to happen, and I'm very
Cons-
depressed.
the
Yeah.
consequences of people's actions were real,
Mhm.
and the corruption of
Well,
the
you get
Jedi
it.
is real.
Yes, thank you. The point I forgot to mention, what I love about this show is that for once, I get why the dark side is so like why somebody would be seduced to the dark side. Like I've always watched and I've always been like, oh yeah, power. Like it's Star Wars. But now I'm like, oh no, I would definitely struggle. Like I would especially in this context. I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I could tell you where I'd land, on what side I'd land.
And this is gonna sound silly. Ever since Rebels, I've wanted them to see more exploring of other perspectives of the
Mm-hmm.
Force because of I feel like what the hell's the name of that character? The giant monster thing of the Force that they introduce in Rebels that it's like no, the Jedi's like one way of dealing with the Force and same thing in like we have so many
Mm-hmm.
different religions and perspectives and stuff
Mm.
like that. It's just like there's not just one way to look at the environment around us. And this introduced a whole entire planet of
Yep.
differing perspectives and the imperialism that exists in
Yep.
history that they echoed in this. It's just the potential is so frustrating because
Yep.
then it's not going to be explored.
Yep.
Thanks, fans.
Can I also say I what really angers me is they're all like, that's not how it was done. And I'm like, yeah, everybody hated the prequels, but now everybody loves the prequels.
Yeah.
And I remember midichlorians weren't a thing. And and forever I will always say you are not allowed to get angry if law doesn't fit law that maybe previously. And even if it's like the thing that drives me nuts is like it's not actually going against any law. It's just expanding upon it, but you're just mad because it hasn't been expanded upon this way. And you're not allowed to do that with Star Wars in particular, when the reason why Anakin has a scar in the third prequel is literally because, and to quote George Lucas, I thought it would look cool. I don't know, fell over in the bath and hit his eye. What?
Yeah,
Like, come on,
sounds
guys.
about right.
Seriously. Yeah, literally. He doesn't even know what the law is.
Yeah. I went back and looked at my letterbox or not letterbox serialized review for
Mm.
this. And yeah, like I said largely a lot of the same things. Like, guys, calm down. Like, watch the whole show before casting judgment on that. And we can't do that now. Thanks, internet. And I just everything that was talked about with this was all things that I really appreciated about this. Does it start a little slow? Yeah, I contend that it does start a little bit slow. And there's some talent here that doesn't get utilized enough. Like Carrie Ann Moss, for example, I think not utilized to her potential, even though she's just Trinity as a Jedi. That's it. But Carrie Ann Moss was still amazing in this, and I really appreciated just all the moments where she is kind of showing like what is wrong with the Jedi Order. And
Mm-hmm.
if we get more stories like that, I would much rather watch that about a morally gray Jedi Order and just deconstructing the whole aura of this institution as opposed to just getting another story about dark side bad.
If
That's
I get another Skywalker story, which I know we are getting,
at some
I'm
point.
so, well, they've already announced it. They're making a Rey trilogy. It's going to be called the Rey Skywalker trilogy.
If it happens,
Yeah,
then
I'm like, just scrap it. Honestly, nobody wants it. Not
well,
because of
everything's gotten
Rey.
scrapped that they've announced in the past 5 years. So
That's
I'm
true.
gonna
Not because
believe
of
it until I
Rey.
see
I'm
it.
just so sick of Skywalkers. Like,
Mhm.
they're not the only family in the galaxy, people.
That's okay. We'll just
I
do a Palpatine story. That's fine. We'll just go to
I
that.
can't like I really hope that James Mangold's like ancient biblical esque Dawn of the Force film happens because
Mm,
that has a lot of potential to do interesting things where the Jedi was born and the Sith were born and what conflict brought that about, which but we'll see. Like I said, unless I see a trailer for a Star Wars movie, I'm not going to believe that it's going to happen because nobody's given
mm-hmm.
me any hope that it will in the
I
past
mean,
five years.
even if you get a trailer, that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it's going to last. Like, I'm very surprised that they only gave the Acolyte one shot for this. And
Mm-hmm.
it is literally all the fans' fault in this case.
Yeah.
And like, shame on you, Disney, for
Well,
just
Well,
powering
I
Disney.
to.
mean, can I just say they've just done that again? I mean, with Win or Lose, that new Pixar show, like they were meant to have a trans character and they kowtowed to parents on that too. And so they've just removed all the specific references to that character being trans. And I'm like, are we not are we not over it? Like, have we not like realized that those specific parents are not the ones bringing you the money that you think they are? Like,
What are you
you know,
talking
and
about?
Alice, welcome to America.
We've doubled down on that being a thing now, you know?
yeah,
Starting next Monday.
and that's why I went on holiday when I did.
Yeah.
I used to say it as a joke. It came
Uh,
true. But I also do genuine look, there's still a part of me that I'm like, I still feel like even if you called their bluff, what are they gonna do? Never watch a Disney movie again? Yeah, good luck with that. What I
oh yeah.
mean? Like,
Oh yeah, for
Until
sure.
their kids are like, "Mommy, I want to see Inside Out 5."
I want to see
yeah,
Frozen 11. Yeah,
yeah,
no. Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
Moana 15.
All right. Does anyone have any honorable mentions? Like, let's keep it like 5 and under honorable
Okay.
mentions. So I'll go first. My honorable mentions. I will give a shout out to the Bear because I, even though I didn't like this season as much as seasons 2 and 1, I still enjoyed this season nonetheless. Baby Reindeer, We Are Lady Parts, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and
Mm.
I'll also give a shout out to a show that I thought was done dirty this year from Amazon, which was in my top 10 before My Lady Jane. I really liked My Lady Jane a
Mm.
lot, and
Speaking of
it
early cancellations,
it pissed me off to no extent that they
yeah.
canceled My Lady Jane after one season when I think there was still lots of story to explore.
The main thing there is that they just didn't give people the time. I think that the rule should be in streaming. You can't make any of those decisions. You're already making us wait years in between seasons. You can't make any of those decisions for a year. You got to give people a year to catch
Mhm.
up on it because I know the interest is there. It's just people don't have the time. They'll get to it. Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
Shane.
I got Fargo season 5, other FX also wrapping up. Somebody Somewhere season 3. I do really enjoy that show on HBO. Only Murders in the Building.
Mm.
And I enjoyed Time Bandits, and that got canceled after one season, which I am not surprised about that because I don't even know, to be frank, I don't even know how Apple agreed to greenlight that in the first place. Such a weird idea to be spending that much money on, but I'm just like, what? I'll accept it. Like every time they announce a new Mad Max movie from Warner Brothers, I'm just like, it's your money. I'm
Well,
enjoying this.
I feel like what you just said there should be Apple's like tagline when it comes to like, if you want to spend that much, or if you're like, if you're gonna spend that much money on it, fine. I guess it's your money.
And
So
most of the
be
time it works out. It's weird
it.
stuff that ends up being the best stuff on television.
True. Alice, take us home with any other honorable
Okay,
mention.
I'm going to try and mention things that haven't already been mentioned. Newest season of Slow Horses, amazing. I'm
Mhm.
so excited for I think it's the final one, right?
I
And that's the
believe
next
so.
one. Yeah. Dude, Hugo Weaving. Loved it. Sunny, that new show with Rashida Jones and the robot. I loved that. That was such a great alternative, like reality kind of sci-fi thing. Oh, so cool. There's an Australian show I have to shout out called Fisk. It is literally filmed like 2 streets down the road from where I
Nice.
live. It's hilarious. I do recommend it. It's on Netflix here, so I don't know if it is in America or other places. So I'll look it up in a moment. But it's hilarious. It's about a woman who's a lawyer in Melbourne and shenanigans ensue. It's very funny. Can recommend. Another one I will recommend. I'm also not, by the way, I'm not going to mention ones that I would have mentioned in the last podcast because there are just so many that I'm trying to spread it out. What else? Oh, a show called Grim Variations, which is an anime Netflix show which takes fairy tales and twists them. So in the first one, it's like a Snow White, but it's Snow White's actually like psychopathic. It's fantastic, and the evil sisters are actually the victims. It's great.
Hmm.
Not for kids, definitely not for kids. And finally, which one? I have to shout out Percy Jackson because I love it so much. I love the series. I'm very excited for season 2. I'm just angry about how long it's taking, and I'm worried about what that means for its future.
And can confirm Fisk is indeed on Netflix here.
Oh, well, please give it a shot if you even find it intriguing enough, because it's like each episode's like 20 minutes. There's not that many. It's so funny. Like, it's great. I mean, it's Australian humor, but it's so funny.
All right. Well,
Yep.
that is it. That is a wrap for 2024. We can move on to
Woo!
2025.
I'm already behind.
17, 18 days into the year. But thank you two very much. I always look forward to chatting with you two about TV. Shane, would you care to plug anything?
I haven't had to do this in a while. You can head over to the wastelandreviewer.blog, which is my website where I have weekly articles and written reviews and basically shamelessly plug whatever I do. I have my Instagram, the Wasteland Review, where I also plug a bunch of things, do some daily reels, and also my tournaments for figure out my directors for Welcome to the Wasteland, which we're in the midst of one right now. And most importantly, head over to the Wasteland Reviewer YouTube channel where I review basically any movies. And I have my 3 weekly shows, all which are like 2 of them are in 200 something episodes and one's in 160. And that's wild. And my 5 different podcasts that I do over on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.
We call that synergy. Yes, Shane, always. Yes, corporate shrill am I. Yes, thank you very much for all of your contributions to the SPDM network. Thank you. Alice, plug away. What would you like to plug and where can the people find you?
So, well, as Shane and Mike, I am also a writer for Sif Pop. Most recently, I did one of my columns for One Stop Pop, where I recommend pieces of media based on a very popular movie or TV show that had come out that month. I did Wicked because I missed out on the last couple months because holiday period. So obviously did Wicked for the most recent one. And I have also written, and it should be coming up soon, if not already up, the Wallace and Gromit review, Vengeance Most Foul. So hopefully that'll be out soon. And then otherwise you can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram at AliGMich, MICH, where you can talk to me and look at my reviews and let me know that my opinions are correct.
That's right. Always look forward to chatting with you two about TV. Looking forward to chatting with you mid-year about everything that's going to be coming out. And it is going to be a stacked first half of the season, which very much looking forward to because between The White Lotus, The Last of Us, Daredevil, Born Again, Severance.
Yeah, we've got the final episodes of Silo season 2. It's going to be Mythic Quest, Apple Cider Vinegar. I'm so excited for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be Squid Game. Squid Game, Cobra Kai is going to be ending in February. So lots of good stuff, lots to look forward to for TV this year.
And on Netflix, on the note of Netflix this being a huge year for Netflix, You also finishes this year.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. So that's another that's another heavy hitter and another one that, boy, yeah, Netflix is gonna
What a year. Yeah.
Well, then
if they're good.
Yeah, that is always the caveat, right? If it is good. So but follow these two, talk to them about TVs and movies, lots of good stuff there. So looking forward to chatting with you both more. That's going to do it for this episode of SPDM TV. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website at SPDM Crew. Shout out to HiFlyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any needs for marketing, logo, or brand standards, contact them at HiFlyerCreative.com. Check out our other shows on the SPDM Crew Network. We did recently launch 2 new shows, kind of. So one show is a Tolkien Center show called Tolkien on Tap, hosted by TJ.
They know their stuff.
They know their shit, very much so. I had TJ on for one of my Rings of Power episodes, and he knows his shit when it comes to Tolkien. So check that out. We've got another one coming up, another music-centric one coming out soon as well. So definitely check that out. and then also 2 more movie ones. So lots more coming out on the SPDM crew. So check out all of our stuff. If you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew, or if you've got a podcast idea, or you're interested in just being a guest, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, happy watching, friends.